This is way more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, what are we talking about? Do we decide or we don't know what we're talking about? What do you like to talk about?
I mean, I always like how we're going right now is completely fine to start it. And then we're obviously going to get into everything else too, as like GM responsibilities, working in hospitality, communication with other people. These are all things that like I thought would be good topics to talk about. Lifestyle, how that affects it, you know, like you could have a serious job in hospitality, but it's completely different than everyone else's serious job. So like managing personal relationships with people inside and outside of the restaurant or any hospitality gig.
Yeah.
Brush the shoulder off. Other one.
This one?
Yeah.
Probably covered in shit. My hair. It's everywhere.
So here, put them on. And then let me make sure. And how do you sound?
How do I sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Could turn it down a little bit. Yeah. It's a hell of a setup in here.
It's insane. It's insane. I really applaud you. This is a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot.
I'm lucky to live with my roommate who I've known since he was 3 years old. So it's as comfortable of a setup as I have in here, living with him, which is good.
How did you get into doing podcasts? I guess that's my first. Or why did you like?
Well, when I decided I was going to completely change up my entire life, I was like, okay, so one thing that would be good to aim at would be like, what were the things that you did when you were a kid before sex, drugs, partying, and everything else that you lose hours in, and all of a sudden before responsibilities, what were the things, not video games, but what were the things that like you just fucking loved and went balls to the wall with? And I always loved making little movies and shit like that. Like,
really?
With a 5.1 megapixel digital camera, I used to make the most ridiculous movies with my brother and my friends in the neighborhood. Like, I could do things with a shitty computer and a 5.1 megapixel camera.
Incredible.
I would show the family and everything, but I loved doing it. And like, I need a good teacher for the programs, but I am like naturally good at picking them up. So I'm sure I'm still doing a bunch of things that take me 3 times longer than they should. But I do just love making them. And I love the radio. Like, I was on the radio in college. So
where'd you go to school?
UMass Amherst.
Of course. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
And you want to know what? This is speaking of exactly that. This marks literally the 25th is my 9-year anniversary from the day I got raided and kicked out of UMass. And then I got back in 2.5 years after that. And that's when I got on the radio, joined the boxing team, and started going.
How did you get, how does one get kicked out of UMass Amherst?
One starts growing weed with a 45-year-old ex-mafia guy who gets caught with a pound of marijuana, rats you out, and then your house gets kicked in at 2:10 a.m. on October 25th.
Well, that is how. Correct. Okay.
That's exactly.
Great.
But surprisingly, it was not a college kid that ratted me out. So.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Criminals are criminals.
Yeah. He was like, "Fuck this 19, 20-year-old college kid. I just did 5 years instead of 3, so I didn't need to do parole. I'm not going back to jail."
I mean, if you've been in jail, it's pretty bad. So.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to go back.
Have you been in jail?
I have not been committed. I have not been in a real jail, but I have been in detention. I spent 60 days in detention when I was 15.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Crazy young. And girls get crazier younger than guys do, too.
A lot of wild things happened in my life. So my dad went to prison when I was like 13. And it was like all over the news, and the DEA raided our house, and like my whole life, you know, like my whole life imploded because you think your life is one thing and then your life is not a thing, and you think your parents are one thing and they're not.
Yeah. And
so at that moment I was like, allow me to go and do drugs and be a fucking lunatic and lash out and be really violent. And then my mother had me put in a detention, and, you know, DYS, and then I got to come back home, and it wasn't pretty. Right around 18 is when I started to be like, this is a bad look for you. This could, you might die. You're gonna get fucking hurt. Yeah. Can I swear?
Yeah, you could do whatever you want.
Okay. You might die, you might get hurt. Some pretty bad things happened to me, and then I was like, this is not a hot look. You need to go to college. Yeah. You're smart. You're gonna waste your fucking life out here with this trash. So
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Braintree.
Okay.
And parts of Boston. You know, I didn't live at home for I lived with my aunt for a year. I didn't live at my, I just, when you're a child and you're in pain and you have no way to explain it and your life is, everything you believed is a lie.
Yeah.
You don't have the tools. And they, now people do because it's okay to talk about it. But when you're 20 years ago, nobody was like, you look like you're in pain. How do we help you? They're just like, you're fucking horrible.
Yep.
Let's punish you instead of being like, you're in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So I think people know how to do it. So yes, I've been in parts of jail. No, I would never want to ever go back to that.
And were you close with your father?
Yes.
Before and after everything happened? Yeah.
You don't tell your child that before you had, he spent 10 years in prison for bank robbing before I was born. And then, we had this whole, I should have known, I was like, well, why is everything in cash? And then, all the Whitey Bulger stuff happened and he was part of that.
And is he still alive?
No, he died 15 years ago.
Damn. Sorry.
It is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But, this is really crazy. I never tell anyone this story.
No.
Nobody knows the story.
Well, you got a gangster flair to you, Johna.
Yeah, you think that's really cool when you're 18. You're like, my father was a gangster, and you kind of know things, and I knew some really fucking wild characters. I look back and now I'm like, you're not dead.
Yeah.
You're like, you're not, you don't have a bullet in your head, or you haven't been really, really hurt, like raped or murdered, or a combo of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I never told anyone these stories. It's like, you should tell your friends and stuff. It's hard to be like, yeah, what'd your dad do? He's a lawyer. My dad's a convicted criminal.
Yeah.
That's been in the books and papers and news and.
Yeah, people judge. Most of the time, I'm not worried about being myself. And I've noticed as of recently, when I do get worried about being myself, it's not that I'm not proud of me. It's that I understand how much people get shit twisted and needing to deal. For example, this haircut. I don't really mind it, but the fact that I know when I go out on a business, in business meetings and things like that. The other night I was at Mass Challenge. I was the only one in the room with something like that. In my entire life, it's kind of been like that with things that I do. So you become aware of how other people are going to treat you and worry about it. And that's probably a big reason why people argue with their parents is the kid doesn't understand yet how much the world will come down on you for the ways that you act or things that you say and do, even if it's not actually morally wrong or your values aren't twisted.
Correct. And I think, my theme of 2019, and I'm not being very good about it, but I'm trying to do it for my friends, is I wish we could just forgive ourselves.
Yeah.
We torture ourselves for our mistakes or the way the world sees us. We brutalize ourselves for the thing we did in 4th grade, or whatever we said to our mother, or the fucking horrible thing we treated a girlfriend or boyfriend. And if you just forgive yourself, you would feel so much better.
So much better.
So much better. And you would it would just be easier.
Yeah.
And honestly too, buy your stock. My theme lately is I'm buying my stock. You in or out, I don't give a fuck. I'm here. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm the best. So fucking get the fuck away, right?
That's how you're gonna make it.
Who else is gonna? If you don't buy your stock, does anyone else buy your stock?
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. No one's coming to save you.
Nobody.
Even the people that love you the most. No one is coming to save you.
They can't.
Yeah.
They can't. I'm watching a friend go through a terrible experience right now, and I can't save her. Nobody can. She's gotta save herself. It's brutal.
Yeah. Same exact thing for me. And I don't know. I'm watching a few people actually go through that, and they're the people that I love. Some of the people I love the most. They're the ones that make me dream about shit. And you know what? I don't break down and cry unless someone damn near died or did die. But Jesus Christ, if there's ever been a time that I've broken down in the past 10 years, it's been over these people and the shit that they're going through. Mm-hmm. And some of it's addiction, some of it's other things. And it's they don't realize how much pain it's causing everyone else. But they're only going to end up needing to be able to fix it themselves.
There is no safety vest for anybody else. You can be there to help somebody. You can be you can stay on my couch. Yeah. I can give you some money. We can talk. You can do that. You can be a good sounding board, and you can love somebody, right?
Yeah.
You can really love your friends or your partner. But you can't fucking save anybody.
Yeah.
and you should only be focused on saving yourself. And when you can save yourself, I saved myself, and when you realize you can do it, the power in that is way more important than
For sure.
any lesson you'll ever learn anywhere else. Understanding you're not going to fucking die, that you're going to wake up in the morning, even when you don't want to, is a gift.
Yeah. So I'm specifically thinking of someone that's got like heavy addiction issues, and I've had a couple people that I've like loved and been like best friends, very significant others close to me that have had these issues. And when I was younger, the difference between enabling and trying to help, I didn't understand that line yet. And to an extent, the line always changes, and it's really a give and a take between how much work they're willing to do. But I put myself through hell trying to help other people in the past, like thinking I was doing the right thing, but I was really just enabling, right? Like giving money to help out, and then a couple years later realizing like, I can't give you money. I need to buy you the groceries, right? Like there's a difference between, you know.
I think it's hard. It's like, especially for addiction, right? Like if somebody had cancer, right? Somebody has diabetes. We're like, how do I help? How can I do this? Let me take you to a doctor's appointment. When you talk about addiction, the level of like, it's hard to determine. Like I have a couple of friends that have pretty bad addictions. And I've had, my uncle and aunt died of heroin addiction, but there's like it's like you're between the depression, the anxiety, and the addiction. It's which came first, you don't know for the person. And there's no way to know which is the right help. It's like, okay, do I talk to you? Do I give you money? If I don't give you money, you're going to die. Like it's not linear how to help somebody with addiction. Yeah. Do I fucking wrap you in bubble wrap and throw you in a rehab? You're just going to walk the fuck out anyways. It's so hard to know what to do. And you also have to protect yourself because they're a fucking time bomb and they literally are going to take you out. They are a dirty bomb. Yeah. And they're going to pull the plug on themselves and then everyone loses a limb.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, have you ever heard of like the rat park example of how they've always tested the addictive properties of like heroin based off of a rat in a cage with 2 water bottles diluted with heroin and 1 normal water. So then the rat would go back 80% of the time to the heroin. So they're like, this is highly addictive. And then in 73, this professor came along and was like, why the fuck are we testing a rat alone in a cage? So they made like Rat Park. So it was like this huge park where it could fuck other girls. There was guys that it could wrestle with. There was wheels it could spin on, great food it can eat. And it switched and it only went back to the water bottle 20% of the time. Because if heroin and everything else and opiates in general were as addictive as we say that they were, then your grandma and everyone, literally way more people than already are, a ton of people addicted, would be addicted. So it's like the loss of community. I think in 2015 there was a huge study on like 15,000 people in America that asked, like, in a time of great need or like sorrow, how many close friends do you have that you could call and talk to on the phone about it? And the most common answer was 0. And then we wonder why depression and anxiety is such a big issue when you're crammed in with more people than there's ever been in the world ever before, but no one fucking knows their neighbor or talks to each other or has any community. There's some close friends that I've gone through, like the scar on the back of my head has put me through a lot. So like I've gone through heavy bouts of depression, and I have best friends that I would love to call and talk to about it. But then they make comments like, yeah, but what do you have to be depressed about? And it's like, okay, to he who knows, no explanation is needed, and to he who doesn't, none will suffice. And it's more about, is your community and the rest of your quality of life structured correctly so that while the world is falling down, you have a reason to stick around and not just go back into oblivion and fucking numb out. And if you don't have good relationships and you're not active, then you're just going to keep going back. So for my friend, I just try to always have that rat park and on my part set up. So when you're ready to get better, I'll be there. We hit the gym, go hiking together. You don't realize you need to put some responsibility in your life. It's not just about being happy. Like the example of like, if you give a little kid a piece of candy, they'll be fucking ecstatic. But you can't just feed the kid candy its entire life. They're not going to understand anything about hygiene or health or anything else. You need to ingrain some responsibility in this individual and teach them how to be like a healthy, productive member of society, right? Like it's more about giving up the instant gratification for things that will pay off in the long run and life isn't always fun. Like
It's
when
most certainly not. And I think here's the thing. I mean, you've sat in plenty of pre-meals, or maybe you haven't, but I'm sure you've heard me say, like, everyone thinks they're really good at communicating, and we're fucking not, because we have phones that do 80% of our lives, and we text, and we send a text, and like, you know, sometimes a text sounds nice, and sometimes it's fucking evil because you're mad. Because if you picked up the phone and said those shit things, you'd know. Or you wouldn't be as easy to do, right? It'd be a lot harder to look. It's much harder to look somebody in the face and be like, "Fuck you."
It's like road rage versus in the elevator,
right? And like we don't communicate well. And you know, I'm an only child, and I haven't had that fun of a childhood. So I have really close friends that I make a point to always be like, always. I try to focus on my friendships and be a really good friend to people. Because I do have there's about 10 people I could pick the phone up and call and be like, I'm in a fucking crisis. Help me right now. And they would come. I could be like, there's a body under the car. They'd be like, okay, well, I've got the shovel. Let's go. This never happened. Yeah. And you need people like that in your life because you're going to do some bad things in your life. Yeah. Not on purpose, but you're going to hurt people by accident and you might do some bad things, and you need people who will know that you're a good person. And that will still love you through some ugly parts. Yeah. And I constantly am trying to tell people that too. I'm like, you need to make sure you have friends. It's like, you know, women who get obsessed with their partner and then they don't have their girlfriends anymore. And it's like, that's not a hot look.
No, not at all.
Women come and go, men come and go. Your partners can come and go. The fucking divorce rate's like 52%. Who the fuck's going to hold your hand?
Yeah.
Him? I don't think so, sweetie. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. And I'm, you know, that's not it's not a knock on relationships, but you know, you need your friends and you need to communicate, and people think they're good at it and we're not. And we never say what we want to say, or we get scared to say what we want to say. You know, 'cause you got to shoot your shot. Well, it's hard.
That's one thing that ever since I thought about bringing you on that I always wanted to compliment you on, because all my life, like I pick up on I'm at a 75 out of 100 when I walk into any room. So it's very hard. Like, I'm always picking up on everything going on. So from an emotional cue perspective, or how someone says something, like, I feel a lot, which has led me, while I grew up, to be a lot more passive with shit. Like, you should understand by looking at my face right now that I'm fucking angry. Right. And that's another thing with the dealing with people who have drug issues and things like that. You need to fucking say it to them. You need to tell them, I know you're high right now. Right. You know, otherwise you're just making it a huge issue for both of you, because they think that they're high, so they don't know that you know, and you know, and you're not saying it. But in all aspects of my life, like the being passive look, I've been, and I'm still always getting better with being much more assertive. And ever since I've known you, I've been like, as far as I can tell in how we've worked together at the restaurant, like, she's very assertive. There are things that you do and you don't, there's no bullshit. You cut directly to the chase. And I feel like some people may hold back, let me just be your friend, hold back. And then next thing you know, when they're finally it's driven them nuts about what someone else has done, then it comes out wrong, and now
or they quit, or they're fucking mad, or they hate your guts.
Exactly.
Those lessons are really hard learned. I was working as a general manager at a restaurant I opened. It was a really hard open, and I was over my skis. You know, you're never.
How old were you?
I was like 30. Yeah. It was a couple of years ago, and I was over my skis. I hadn't done this job. I didn't understand what the job meant. Right? The job is being a general manager of a restaurant, or being the boss, right? Like the one that you're like you're at the top of the food chain in terms of like whatever you're controlling, next to like the CEO or the executive, right? It's not about the things. Like, you can figure out how to do schedules, and you can figure out how to do operational stuff, right? That stuff will come. It's muscle memory. It's fucking 10,000 hours. You will get it if you have any talent at all. Yeah. It's understanding the pressure. The pressure is what fucking will break you in half. And standing in the storm and taking all the pressure from the owners and all that shit, and not combusting or bursting into tears or being like, fuck this place and let's light it on fire and lock everyone in here. Yeah. That's the hardest part. So it's definitely over my skis, and I have a very strong personality, and I can be pretty peppery and fiery. So without any temper to that, like without that being tempered and somebody tempering me, I would be really curt and rude and not motivating enough. I thought there was only one way to motivate people, by fear or by. And this girl who was an incredible server was like, I'm putting my notice in. And I was like, no. And she was like, well, we had an hour talk outside. And she was like, I'm not going to quit. I'm so glad we talked. I wish we had done this before. And I always remember that moment because now I can sense when I feel people are unhappy or like something's going on. And I'm like, let's talk. Yeah. What do you want to talk? Are you mad? Is there something I can do? This is why I'm doing this. Tell me what's going on, especially if we want to keep people, right?
Yeah.
The only thing you have in a restaurant or in a business is the people you have and the culture you have. And that's the only thing that fucking matters. That's it. Anyone telling you any different is a fucking liar and doesn't get it. It's culture. Culture eats everything else. So if you have incredible people that care about what they're trying to do and you give a shit and you motivate them in ways that they don't know they even needed to be motivated, right? Like, okay, this person's motivated, but I know what motivates server X, I know motivates server Y.
Yeah.
And trying to motivate them very specifically, like really fine tune it to get what I need, which is like the best service. That's the way to operate. For me personally, that's how I do it. But I'm very assertive because listen, I'm a woman in this business. I'm tiny, right? Can barely see over the fucking, the dining room half the time. And it's a power struggle, right? It's a power vacuum. And everybody wants to, you're in a room filled with alcohol, good looking people, and all they want to do is fuck, drink, and do drugs before, middle, and after. That's what restaurants are, right? That's literally what everyone wants to fucking do, which is why we get in the business, right? Everyone looks good. Everyone's running around. You go after work. You put 40 things of tequila. Maybe you're fucking doing something else. And then you're like, who's lined up? Let's go. That's what it is. It's the running and gunning. It's the funnest part. When you're a server and a bartender, that's the funnest part.
Yeah.
As a manager, you don't get to act that way. I mean, I don't get to act that way.
Yeah, it's
sometimes
it's a huge difference between even when you think about the money and the trade-off of responsibility when you go from server to manager.
It's so hard.
So you got to really want it.
I mean, you have to listen. There are people in this business that are so fucking talented. And when I see him, I'm like, you can do whatever you want and you can make a fortune as a server, as a manager. And it is really hard to go from taking $1,500 a week in cash to making $1,500 a week for a 2-week pay period. Yeah. That's a fucking hard pill to swallow. But you don't get the big job unless somebody can see you have the little job. And that's where you learn, where you fine tune people and you learn, you need people on your team. I feel really lucky. I got a lot of people on my team. A lot of people are rep me at work. There are people who don't. There are people who put a knife in that bitch's back, but I don't really care. You won't be the first. You're not going to kill me. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And they'll come and go.
They come and go. They all do. Yeah. There's people, there's archetypes in restaurants. And there's the real talent people, and they're awesome and they're incredible, and you feel blessed to be around them, and you learn so much about them, and you there's a couple people at work that I love. And then there's the miserable cranky bartender who thinks he's fucking better than everybody, and the fucking alcoholic server who's just a miserable motherfucker and just trying to a poison pill to everybody. We don't really have that, which feels really nice.
There's only 2 people I ever really didn't and they flushed themselves out.
They sure did, didn't they? They always do, because culture is everything, and people who care about something will not let that person come in and blow it up, even if I can't see it right away. I have a 90-10 ratio of incredible hires to 10 I fucking miss. I'm like, how the fuck did I not see this absolute gong show? How did I miss that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a 90%, I'm pretty spot on, because I only hire based on energy.
Yeah.
I'm a temperature gauge. This is what hospitality is. We're temperature gauging things, and we're adjusting to the guest. So they have the most incredible experience to take all their money. That's the game, right? The game is for you to have the best part about my job is talking to guests and seeing how happy they are. That's what I love. The second best part is seeing how much sales we can do, right? They go hand in hand. So when I hire people, I only base on energy. So if I feel good about it, I'm like, you know what? I can teach this, I can teach any idiot how to fucking mise a table. I can teach you anything you need to know about wine to be able to sell it to clients. That's nothing.
Yeah.
That's nothing. I will not hire somebody with energy that isn't right. because they're going to destroy everything you work so hard to do.
I mean, you have a stronger gauge on it than arguably most 99% of the guests are going to have, and even that they are going to have a natural gauge on energy that
Correct.
they might not know why, which
It's
is like
all
those people
subconscious.
that flush themselves out. Sometimes I'd hear and talk to the table, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like, but
I'm dying to know who those people are, but we won't say it on air. After. I think hospitality, I love it. I really love many, many aspects at it. And it also feels good to be like fucking really good at something. Like
Yeah.
I'm really good at, I'm really good at this part of it. I can dazzle and delight people. I know about food and wine. I know exactly how a dining room should move. I can tell when things are off. I know exactly what lighting should look like. I know what music should sound like. So it feels good to be good at that thing. I feel proud of that part. It was hard to get there. It was really
bet.
fucking hard. And I made a lot of mistakes and I managed people really poorly. And I got to the South End and I got better at it. And I also was around talent. So when you're around talent, you're like, oh, I can't be a jerk. I've got to be, these people
Yeah.
are smart.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. So now I think my evolution in the last 6 years working for this company and the people I've worked with, I've really softened. This is the softest
Really?
I've been. I try to remind myself to not be sharp with
Okay.
people. That's the culture of the world and restaurants in general has changed. In restaurants 10 years ago, chefs would be like, go, swear at you, throw fucking things at you.
Yeah.
I had a boss who threw fucking
Yeah.
menus at us. Like it was real. Like I went like the things I sat in manager meeting, and listened to my old boss would tell me, I couldn't repeat. I would not repeat. So the culture has changed about how we treat people in restaurants and what's important, because there's so many restaurants and there's not enough talent. So like you can't abuse talent. You can't be like, so we adjust, and I've adjusted and I've softened, but there's a line
Yeah.
and I will not cross it, and I won't let anyone else cross it either. I will not.
Well, that's good. I mean, there's some nights where I just sit back at the restaurant and I go, all these other fucking companies and occupations that want to talk about teamwork and think that they don't know jack shit about teamwork until you come into a restaurant or any restaurant, but a restaurant like this, and watch it function on a crazy night.
Friday was a perfect example of.
It was wild, which I'm sure was much more wild for you than it was for me. It was wild, but at the same time, I felt like it was clockwork.
Clockwork. I mean, it took us the amount of events we did when we first started, and now how we've like gotten a lot tighter, and like we're clicking on all cylinders, for lack of a better metaphor. But that was like Friday went really smoothly. The guests sent us this beautiful email about those 82 fucking people to feed. That was hard, right? It took everyone. But it also takes somebody being like, you're going to do this and you're going to do this and don't do anything else. And I'm not asking, and that somebody is me, to be like, no, yes, no, yes. You have to. You can't let other people, everyone's opinion is not important when you know that what has to happen.
Yeah.
This isn't a dialogue. It's not a cheerocracy.
I've heard you say those exact things in the middle. Yeah.
It's not a cheerocracy. This is like, this is what we're doing. I'm not interested in your opinion right now.
Yeah.
We've got to get through this. It has to be like that. It sounds like ego, but it isn't. It's like, I had to be like, tell the chefs, this is what needs to happen. We're doing it like this. Tell the staff, this is what we're doing. This is exactly how to make all this move, so we have a seamless night and we're not in tears at the end of it, because the pressure in that kitchen at one point was like, it was unnerving. Yeah. Like I was like standing there being like, this is hard. And and when it's that hard, I have to be razor sharp.
Well, I think you are. You do a great job at it.
I try.
Was there, so how'd you end up getting into hospitality?
I was 15.
Did you try other jobs first?
No. So I was 15. My dad owned a restaurant years and years ago, right before I was born. And my mother was a waitress. I think that's how they met. And when I was 15, my mother was like, you need to get a job. I don't have any money for you. You gotta fucking, not get a job. That's it. So I was living in West Roxbury at the time. We were living in West Roxbury. So Friendly's, I applied at a Stop and Shop and a Friendly's. I got the job at Friendly's.
Okay.
So I started waitressing there. I waitressed all through high school.
So you could have went the grocery store route.
I could be GM of Stop and Shop.
I'm gonna walk into the Stop and Shop. You need to put those apples.
Right? Could you imagine? No. So then this lady who used to work with my dad, she used to work for him at his restaurant, worked at this place called the Union Oyster House. She ran the place, and I needed a job. So when I was at 18, I got a job there, and I thought that was like the center of the world. I worked all through college. I left there and then went to work at Sansi, which was like one of the wildest, funnest. Yeah. I did some really fucking wild things there. As a server, like I've waited on Jack White, John Mayer,
really?
Justin Timberlake, Matt Damon, the Farrelly brothers.
Damn.
The Blues Brothers. I've like personally waited on Tom and his first baby's mama.
Wait, Tom who?
Tom Brady.
Oh,
and then
damn.
him and Giselle a lot.
Word.
So it was a really, really fun time. And then I was doing events for them and waitressing full time. And then they asked me to floor manage, and I did. And then, you know, my boss, who was the GM, was like, he's like one of my closest friends. And like him and I, when he took over as GM, and I was like the events manager and server, really shifted a few things. Like we threw the fucking old GM out because we hated him. We pushed him out the fucking door. Then we did a few other things. So like he taught me a lot of things, taught me a lot of things about myself, and then gave me a GM job when we opened a new place.
And how long did you, how many years was that from?
I worked at Sansi. I worked at the Lions Group for 9 years.
Oh, okay.
So I was a server at Sansi for like 5 years. And
there's that mastery, magic 9-10 year number.
Yeah, this is crazy, right? So now I'm leaving this job with absolutely no idea what I'm going to do, which feels very liberating and yet also terrifying. Like I was in my bathroom yesterday looking at all my expensive creams. Like my face cream's like $148. That's just one of the 4 I use. My shampoo's like $40. My hair's cost me $200 every time I get it done. I'm like, we're going to have to make a few adjustments here, kitten.
Oh, yeah.
Which feels terrifying because I'm like, I mean, listen, I can go get a job anywhere I want. So I'm not really worried about that part. Like if I tell more people I'm leaving, there's going to be like 5 people looking to hire me. I just don't know what I want to do. I still want to do some kind of hospitality and client services, which is like my real expertise. I just don't want to do 15-hour days where I feel like my back's going to be split in half.
Yeah.
Or I'm, plating dishes.
Yeah. Would you ever go to a hotel?
I would go to a hotel in terms of like doing like food and beverage managing. I think I just can't imagine being on the floor running around in my heels like that. Fucking like, I was there almost midnight last night, which is, it is what the job is, but I'm tired.
Yeah. So so this is how many years, basically this is well over 10, 15 years that you've
20.
been, 20 in hospitality now. So how has that been affecting like health from a mental or physical perspective?
So I'll tell you what, I never worked out. I have terrible, not anymore, but like I had terrible eating habits and I've never been able to sleep. Like my parents sent me to sleep clinics my whole life because like I couldn't take naps or I wouldn't sleep at night. If I took a nap at 2:00 in the afternoon, I would be up till 5 a.m. It's just not possible. I just don't. I went to sleep clinic after sleep clinic at Children's Hospital for years. They just couldn't understand why I never slept. So I've never had really good habits. About a year and a half ago, the restaurant wasn't opened, and I was working at Duave, and then they were like, you can stop working at Duave. We're gonna just pay you. You can do bullshit for us, but like, so I had all this kind of free time. I was like literally working 9 to 5, doing like handbooks and bullshit, but not having to be on the floor, right? And my best friend was like, I'm going to go back to my trainer. Do you want to work out? I've never worked out. Never my whole life. And I was like, okay. And I definitely had weight to lose and it was terrifying, but this guy's an incredible trainer. It's this little tiny gym. He owns his own boot camp called Beantown Bootcamp. He's fucking incredible. And he's in incredible shape. And and she's in great shape and she's been working out her whole life, right? She looks like a fucking supermodel. And I'm like, this is going to be really hard. And I feel really embarrassed and I don't look good and I hate my life, but you have to, like, it doesn't work if you don't go. Yeah. So we went 2 days a week, 4 months. And I started, this is the hardest part. And you're in great shape. So you'll understand what I'm saying, but it's really hard when you've never worked out. because you don't see it for like 9 months. Nobody sees it, right? Like you could be on the treadmill fucking 5 times a week and you might not have lost any weight or you don't look any different and nobody fucking notices, right? And so you have to motivate internally, right? You have to self-motivate. So finally I mean,
what a metaphor for everything though.
Everything.
Like, no one knows the amount of work that goes into half the shit. Like the podcast, for example.
I mean, looking at this setup, people should know what the fuck's going on because this is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was going to be like 2 mics. There's lights, there's cameras, there's water, there's magic.
Yeah, but keep going.
So, we worked out and I finally felt good enough to like go to other workout classes. So I went to Barry's class and then I was mixing in both of those and then I could see things changing. Like I definitely lost weight. I felt strong. I could do a 1 minute run. I didn't feel like I was going to cry my eyes out. And
changing overall energy too.
Changing overall energy.
Helping sleep.
Not sleep. Sleep's never. Me and
kind
sleep.
Of been like that too.
Sleep it's an elusive white rabbit. I don't. I have to like bury myself in like ZQuil or fucking take a muscle relaxer if I'm so exhausted and I feel like because my brain turns on. Like I have an internal clock that right around 11:30 at night, my body's like, whoop, we're up. Let's go. That's why I can watch all those shows. That's why I can read books all night. But I feel so much stronger. I can see the difference in my body and in how I feel. Like I don't feel as sore on the floor. I eat a lot better now. Like I definitely but here's the other thing, right? I have access to it. I have money.
Yeah.
When you have access, this is what people don't understand. It's like when you see like poor kids who are overweight and they don't, it's like, it's not because they're trying to overeat. They don't have access to food. They have food. They have access to like mac and cheese and like $2 Doritos. They don't have fucking access to greens and beans, and their parents don't, and they don't understand like how to eat properly because nobody's ever shown them that you need this or this because they don't have access and they don't have money. Yeah. It's really easy when you can throw your Amex at a fucking problem. Be like, I need a green smoothie.
Oh, for sure.
I need to work out at Barry's. It's a $28 class. Fuck it.
And the amount of like work, like the good things that you do when you have money, it's like how much discipline actually went into that good thing, like manifesting itself. Because one thing's for damn sure, like I was probably making just right around like 150 before, and I cut that down to now I'm under 50. And when you're under 50 trying to live in the Boston area,
forget it.
And I had a choice to either go bankrupt or do national debt relief and no longer have credit cards and pay back like $27,000 worth of debt at like 20 with no interest. So that's great, but I don't have a credit card anymore. So like what I make is what I can spend. So I'm over here trying to be healthy as fuck. I'm still dropping like $150 a week on groceries, and that's that's like not even 3 full meals a day for me.
It's insane, and that's like
And I meal prep. Like I go out of my way to do all that shit.
Yeah, but like I'm 3 meals a day feels like not enough food for you. Like I'm looking at you being like, there's no fucking way this is enough food for this kid.
Trust me, intermittent fasting did not start strictly because I was trying to be healthy. Intermittent fasting was like, I heard about it, and there was like an 8-month time period where I only could afford, like when I first started working at Chops, then right around then, the first few months was cool because I was still riding off of like 22 grand that I had gotten paid off of from the last sales job I had. I got a commission check, boom, huge amount of money. Then as that dwindled down, by the time we got into like 6 months into Chops, I was basically eating like a meal a day. So intermittent,
our family meal.
Yes, yeah. So one huge meal a day, and that was like why intermittent fasting got going. But at the same time, it was like I was a fucking slob. I weighed damn near 200 pounds when I was working in corporate. I lost all my healthy habits, and I have sleep issues like you. So when you need to be in the city for 9 a.m., there's no such thing as going to the gym in the morning.
There's no such thing. That's the other hard part.
No such thing. And you want to go at night? Well, guess what? If you don't like to be, unless you like being crowded as fuck around a ton of other people that hit the gym between the 5 and 8 p.m. time slot, which I hate. I go to the gym I go to specifically because it's nice and spread out. Like, yeah, sorry about those. It's all the plants in here.
No worries. I think it's access, right? It's money. And it's also like your schedule, right? Like my schedule has been really wonky in the last 6 months because we only have 3 managers, right? So somebody has to incur the extra hours. I get paid the most. It should be me, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to dump an extra 20 hours on Chase or, the other two managers. It's not fucking fair, right? I make more money than them. It should be me. So when I can't build in those workouts, like if I can't get 3 workouts in a week, it makes me fucking angry. Angry. Because I'm like, it's everyone's like, oh, you got my steps in. It's not the fucking same. It's not the same. Lifting weights correctly, working on a treadmill and doing body work is not the same as running up and down stairs in 4-inch stilettos with your ass hanging out all night. It's not the same. You're not getting the same workout. You're not burning the same calories, and you're not focusing on muscle groups.
And there's not a real stress. There's a body stress element when you're working out, but there's not a mental stress element.
No, you
like
feel
that.
great. You look at a room of people, right? Like especially classes I go to, you look at a room of people, and like I've finally look, I have enough self-worth that when I look at the room of people and I see somebody in like better shape, I'm like, oh, they look fucking awesome. How do I get there? Like I don't feel intimidated or feel bad about myself anymore, which is like real growth because especially women. I mean, it's true for men too, but I'm only cued into like what women go through. We are constantly bombarded with being like a size 0 and having fucking big tits or blonde hair and look at your looks. I pay a lot of money to look this, and wear makeup and all the shit that we do. I got like 42 fucking highlighters on right now. Like it's exhausting. And we're constantly told like if we don't look like this, we're undervalued or we're not lovable. Or if you're size 4, you're fucking fat or whatever the fuck it is, or how much, like I don't even weigh myself anymore. It's too unnerving. Good. It fucking unravels me because I'm like, this isn't real. Like this number is maybe different than what my friend who's tiny is, but like I'm strong.
There's too many differences. Muscle weighs more than fat. Right. You could gain a couple pounds and technically have been in far better shape than you were a couple weeks ago.
Correct.
But the numbers alone and
the numbers alone aren't real numbers. And like I know there's like a whole bunch of fucking fitness gurus who are like, you shouldn't be afraid of the numbers. But I'm like, I tortured myself in my 20s on those numbers. I would eat like soup and green beans for the whole day. I would do fucking terrible things to my body to try to get down to a size 4. Like my friends were naturally like that. And I fucking hated myself, and I'll never fucking go back there. That's a terrible fucking place to be. And I'm sure we've all been places where we hate ourselves, but when like you hate your body and you feel that insignificant, I'll never go back there. It's terrible. And any woman, it's like you got to love yourself at Lizzo size, and you got to love yourself at fucking Gwen Stefani size. And it's hard when you look at pictures of supermodels every day and you're like, my legs don't look like that, or my hands don't look like that, or my boobs don't look like that. It's hard. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. And living in one of the things that I've been kind of sour about more recently, get into this, especially in Boston, what you see a lot is fucking, it looks are one thing, but like if you have money, I mean, you see it in the restaurant all the time. What was so funny about working at the Wilbur and the restaurant, like right after I kind of changed everything up in my life, was both places would play this game, dad or daddy sometimes. So like, is she with her dad or is she with her daddy? And sometimes I can't fucking knock these chicks. Like I'm in $100,000 worth of debt,
Right.
like, wouldn't it be fucking easy? But I got into health, and I've always been I'm a dog that needs to be walked. That's why the office drove me especially crazy.
Yeah.
Like I need to move around and break a sweat before I do anything else for anyone else in my day. Or at least get it in my day somewhere.
You have to.
Or I'll go nuts. Like the difference in the type of person I am when I go to the gym in the morning and then go to work versus not get to go to the gym is night and day. And like I kind of feel bad for some of the people that have needed to interact with me on days that I didn't get to go to the gym at all, even for the last week. So there'd be times I'd be in a different time zone every week, and it's like, okay, there is no room for working out here.
And that's like, I get really fucking cranky when I can't work out, and it really settles you. Like you work out for an hour and you are in it. Like you're not with your phone. You're not with your there's nobody distracting you. You're fucking in it. And especially, I mean, I know you do a lot of working out like solo because I'm not motivated like that. I'm in this room and the instructor's like being like, it feels like I'm in here and I'm in this moment for me. Yeah. And the only person you're battling in that room is you.
Yeah.
Like, don't look next to the girl who can get to a 12 on the treadmill. That's not your goal. Your goal is to get better for you. And, you know, I think the workouts, I would encourage anybody to find whatever feels good to do something at, you know, in active, because for yourself, not like busy bullshit work, but like go for a walk, go for a run, go to a yoga class, go to a studio. All those things are so good for your mental health. They really are.
Sure. I mean, so like just on like a background on Tourage, this podcast. So this whole circle thing that's like all over the wall and everything, it's like a art and Enzo circle, art in Japanese culture, which is this whole like, the more in the moment you are, the better, the more perfect, the better a circle you will draw. And because you're drawing a circle, you're creating. So everyone I have on here, what I try to pull out of them through conversation is what are the things that they get in the moment with and create. Now, that could be running a business, managing a team. It could be simple as someone decides to go to the gym. So I would use the gym as a very valid way to explain, like, the more in the moment you are, and what's your art there. Your art is, if anything, it's personal health and getting better and better at that. But like, it is so important to have times with no other distractions. So it's solitude for yourself, you know. It's not, you're not necessarily alone to get solitude. Like, you could still be in solitude, but it's for yourself. And if you don't have, reading a book would be another great example. Anything that you are not, like, drawing is an example. Like,
I mean, art and music for anybody and any variation, for me, is the only way you can explain your internal mind to yourself. So like for me, I read a lot of books.
Yeah.
And I read those books, a lot of fiction, because they explain parts of your internal life to you that you're having a hard time. Like when you read about a breakup or love and your heartache and you're fucking in tears about it, you're like, oh, that's what I felt, that I couldn't wrap my brain around. And the same for music. Like for me, one of the things that I like the most is to make playlists for work and for like,
I know you do.
I love it. And I find a song and I will listen to a song on repeat for out. Like I will just hit play again,
I'm the same way.
again and again. I don't care. And I like also too, like the art that people are creating right now on TV. Like the TV is 20 years ago. Remember we used to fucking sit around and watch like whatever the fuck we watched. I don't even know. Those shows were so fucking bad. And the stuff that's on TV right now, like I am absolutely floored. It's some of the best art I've ever seen. It's absolutely incredible. And I keep being like, I don't mind staying up till 3 a.m. because this, like, I watched this show Fleabag, and you've got to watch it. It's Fleabag.
What's it on?
It's on Amazon. Do you have Amazon?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's on Amazon. It's 2 seasons, 6 episodes a season. They're like 25 minutes, right? So
I'll rip through that.
Season 2 is a perfect of a season of TV I have ever watched in my life. It split my soul in half. I was like, my God, this is so perfect. It was so beautiful. I cried. I laughed. I can't say enough about the show. And by the way, low key, everybody who's watched it, she just won like 3 Emmys. It was great. And then
okay.
It also,
those are big statements. So.
And I don't, you know, it was a perfect show. The season 2 was a perfect show. And like, when you watch those things, or if I make playlists and I'm listening to music all day and I'm reading books, which is like my other favorite thing to do. But this is like part of the reason why I'm leaving my job. I have 26 books I haven't touched because I get home and I can also tell, right? Because like I'm acting out in ways I haven't acted out in years. Like I'm blacking out, drinking like that. I know exactly when to go home. I definitely drink a lot, but I can be like, you're about to do something dumb. Get the fuck out of here. Right. Yeah. I have skipped that part and now I'm just in a straight fucking spiral, which tells me I'm a level of unhappy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's when I know, like when I start acting out and making really rash decisions and not buttoned up. And I'm not saying people need to be buttoned up or I do, but I know for myself. I'm like, you're acting like a fucking 22-year-old who's never seen anything before in your life. You've seen plenty. Yeah. Button it up. And
that's a really good point.
And I'm unbuttoned because I'm unhappy. So when you're unhappy, you'll poison yourself with...
or numb out in any way.
In any fucking way possible.
Yeah, whether that's eating or popping pills or drinking too much or anything. That's a really,
or all
really
variations.
Good point.
Or all variations, which is like, you know, I don't...
See, now you want to talk about the amazing art that's out now that all of a sudden can make you realize something about your own fucking soul and make you understand something. I mean, that right there will be a point in this conversation that someone will watch and turn on a light in their head and go, okay, what am I am unhappy. Let me think about those things that I'm unhappy about.
You know, that was like one of that you know, thinking about that in the last couple weeks, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You're crying at work. You're fucking drinking like you're not. I was like, you are fucking miserable and you have nobody else to look at. You're unhappy with yourself. You're unhappy with where your career is at. And it's time to make a change. And the change is fucking terrifying, but I'm not, no more tears. Sorry, sweetie. We're well past that.
Yeah.
You know, you're not, 15-year-old. You're not supposed to be crying at work. And I'm not mad at anybody at work, and I love those guys. I love my bosses. They're terrific human beings. It's not about them. And I have no desire to do like a war crimes tribunal for everybody. That's not productive or helpful either.
Yeah.
The person who needs to change is me, right? And that's what I'm going to do. So, you know.
When you're standing on the cliff and you're about to jump off, it's fucking terrifying. But
terrifying.
Specifically relating this to cliff jumping or skydiving, but cliff jumping specifically, I remember even like telling my boys, like, listen, all you need to do is make a really shitty decision or great decision. If your goal is to land in that water in front of you, then all you need to do is just jump up in the air. And once you jump, then there's no more everything about worrying about like, oh, this seems too high. This seems like this, and that. I mean, you're going down, you know, and it'll still be absolutely terrifying, but when you get down there, you're thrilled. You're so proud of yourself. You're everything. I mean, you just jump right into it. So you've jumped, right? So,
I jumped, and there's no, you know, there's a saying in ancient times. It's like you've crossed the Rubicon, right? It's the river in Rome. Once we've crossed it, it's over. Like you've crossed the Rubicon. There's no going back. There's no putting the shit back in the horse. It's out. It's just not going to happen. So I've made a decision. The next 2 months really are about me trying to help anyone in that circle of people to get whatever they need. Like if somebody wants a job, somebody needs a kick up from being a server to a manager. If I can do that for them, I'm happy to help them. If they need some life advice, I'm here to give it. I want to help as many people on my way out and help the business as best I can. And go out with like a crown on my head and flowers at my feet. And the rest, I'm not interested in the rest. You know, I mean, can I be a petty, miserable bitch? Yeah, sure. Could I slice people's throats?
Yeah, probably.
Sure, I've done a few, but that's not productive. Who does that win? You know, that doesn't help anybody. Yeah. And I want to help people. That's, you know, and I always think about it as like my next role. I'm like, how many people can I help? You get one shot at this life, and a lot of people helped me that I didn't appreciate, and I'd like to be able to return the favor in kind to as many people as I can help. Whether, you know, I don't know what that help is for who it is, but if I can do it, you know, if I can volunteer my time, if I can help one fucking human being, you've done your job on the planet.
No, arguably, you're doing it right now. I mean, that's why all this ridiculous shit is set up here and why I decided to do this. I mean, I believe my like life's purpose is to like help like large amounts of people. But even if it's just, I mean, the Sober October shit alone, I got a voice memo from this kid and he'll hear this and I'll play his voice memo in the Sober October thing. He said it's cool for me to play it. I was blown away. Like you think that it's just, you know, I shot it out to the like 200 person email list that I have right now for Tourage. And you think it's just some of the people that you know. And there was a few that like I had no idea who they were. They had just started following me on something. They started doing it. And this kid sends me a 6-minute voice memo. My life was spiraling out of control. I just totaled my car. I was getting fucked up on this, and that. I had started following this thing. I heard about Sober October. I thought it was the perfect time. And the rest of the 6 minutes is about how much better his life's going. He got a bike. He's riding his bike to the gym 8 miles a day now. Like, you forget. So one of the things I've been very interested in recently, and you know how they say what, like 6 degrees of separation from like everybody in the world, yes. Right? So we're like these nodes in a network. And Jordan Peterson, who I look up to a lot, he always talks about how just back in Nazi Germany, when that was going on, how when the Nazis were taking over the other city-states and areas around it, you had men that turned into like basically cops for Nazis that were great men. There is just like our neighbors next door and random ass people that are good people that went from being normal to just being able to murder Jews like it was no big deal, and like how bad the world can become because of that.
Lowest common denominator.
Yeah,
people will fall to the lowest common denominator at any fucking given moment.
Yeah, he's like you might want to say that you think, you know, if you think, he'd say you think you're one of those extraordinary human beings that would like help hide the Jews and whatever and keep them from being murdered. You're one of two things: either you are an extraordinary human being, which is extremely rare, or you're fucking just blind. Like you're blind to you're ignorant as shit to think that you wouldn't conform with the rest of society. And he's like, listen, if you pathologize your life, you will pathologize your society and all the friends and family that you have with it. So the things that you need to stop doing that you know are bad for you, or start doing that you know are good for you. Every time you make a negative decision for yourself or a rude or a bad person to somebody else, it's not just you holding yourself accountable. You're going to make a negative difference to everyone else. It's this stone in the middle of the pond, and the ripples touch the entire fucking thing. So like, I'm like, when I get a voice memo like that, or when I decide that I'm going to stop doing a job that I know isn't right for me, you really have no idea, out of the conversations and people that end up hearing about it, how much that actually ends up affecting the rest of the world in like a positive way. So this conversation will do exactly what, you know, if you want to help someone, it will help someone.
I hope so. And I think too, like this, the world is in a really dark fucking place. And frankly, people need to take sides. And I'm tired of listening to people sympathize or empathize with like, oh, my next door neighbor voted for Trump, or, you know, and I'm just fucking tired of it. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of it. And I'm in the business now of calling motherfuckers out on it. I'm like, I'm sorry, but you're locking up kids, you're separating families, you're causing fucking Syria to go fucking buckling. I'm done. You're a racist, you're a bigot, and if you voted for this motherfucker and you think about it, I'm calling you it to your face. I'm done. Draw a line in the sand, everybody. Sorry. When is it enough? When they come for you? Well, this is like, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people being like, no. There's a line in the sand. Bad things are happening, and you need to help people and stand up for people. And the more you do it, the harder it is for the people trying to come for you, come for us. You know, like the only safe motherfuckers out there is the white fucking straight male. The rest of us are fucking game for anybody, right? Real talk.
True. That's
real talk.
Definitely true.
And, you know, it's not the white straight male's fault. It's not like guy, you know, they're not actively trying to do that, but like you, the only motherfuckers that are safe. Yeah. The rest of us, anything could come for us.
Yeah.
And then I think, you know, thinking about the world right now, it's like you need to help people, you need to draw a line in the sand, and you need to speak up. You really need to speak up. And
I definitely agree with that. I mean, when I was a little kid, I used to tell my brother, I used to just be like, I think that the world's going to shit, and it's more the fault of all the smart, good people. Because one thing that you realize is, like, as people become more conscious and get back to realizing the things that actually matter, like the basic shit, the friends, the family, the personal relationships, health, they also kind of draw away from dealing with all the bullshit. So I used to tell my brother, I used to be like, you know, I think it's more of these good people's fault for some of this going to shit than it is the bad people, because they stop standing up to the face of like all the negative things that are going on in the world. And just next thing you know, any asshole that wants to yell and shout ends up taking the stage, and the world starts going to shit because I don't want to deal with that. I don't want that in my life.
I want my taxes better. Yeah. It's like, I don't care if my taxes are better. I don't want fucking kids starving. I don't want to lock them up at the border. That's, I'm sorry. I don't care. Take my 40% taxes. I don't give a fuck. And like, I don't know. I see the things going on, and I see it bothers me when I don't see people standing up, when like, you have access, you have money, you can do this, you can help more than I can help. And I don't know why you're not. And I don't know why you're not more upset. People should be outraged.
Well, and arguably, a lot of people are pretty outraged right now.
And I know everyone's like, he might get elected again. I'm like, he's not, because people are fucking mad as hell. And the people who are going to vote him out.
I hope so. I really do hope so, because that's also what we all thought the first time.
We did, but we weren't as smart as we were now. So like we all got duped. Like, you know, they're trying to ban abortion in every fucking state, and the ACLU just goes careening in. And so like, I read this thing I posted on Instagram, but it was like,
I can't even believe this.
It's fucking insane, right? It's absolutely insane, but it's, you know, this is the law of the land, but whatever. So Pennsylvania, the paper in Pennsylvania is like, Pennsylvania is going to be the next state to ban abortion at a heartbeat, which is 6 fucking weeks. Okay, you don't even know you're fucking. Just guess what? You don't know you're pregnant at 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so FYI,
it's a cell.
It's nobody's business, really. But the governor of Pennsylvania was like, that's actually not going to fucking happen because I'm going to veto that bill. So nobody worry. And I was like,
you reposted that,
I reposted
right?
that. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Every time these fucking lunatics try something, there is somebody going, nope, we're going to fight for it. And you know what? If you have $25 extra, donate to the ACLU. Donate to fucking debt relief in Puerto Rico or relief in the Bahamas. Donate your $10. You don't have to have fucking Bo Loco today. You can donate $10 to help somebody.
Yeah.
Because that's how you move the needle. Money moves the needle. Speaking up moves the needle. Standing, holding people's hands that don't look like you, that moves the needle. And, you know, especially as a white person, you know, I get a lot of, you know, look, I look like an Aryan princess. Like, I get a lot of access that other people don't get. It's more important for me to speak up. I mean, it's hard. Being a woman's hard in this world, right? Like, it's not easy, but I have a lot of access. So I should be speaking up, and people with access should be speaking up.
Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way.
And it makes me fucking mad when people don't. I'm like, you should be standing up. You could be next, motherfucker. You think you're wrapped in some bubble? You're not. You're not. You could be next.
And there's some people that I feel like might feel the way that you feel, but have never really gone through anything in their life, so their voice doesn't carry as much weight when they say things. So I think it's important for the people that have gone through shit to talk about it. And then, you know, I mean, I think vulnerability is the highest form of courage. I heard that once when I was younger, and I've never stopped believing it.
It's so scary to be vulnerable to people. I'm not good at it at all. It's you know, if you've had a couple really dicey, you know, you've had your heart ripped out a few times, whether it was through your childhood or through, you know, partners or whatever.
Shut off.
It's really hard to
go. Close those fucking doors.
You have to. You have to if you have to, or you ain't gonna make it out.
Yeah.
But you're right. Being vulnerable is so fucking terrifying because rejection or feeling rejected or thinking people think you're a horrible person is so painful. It's like being 3 years old again, right? Like you're accessing something so primal. It's so scary. And
you want to know what? But then it's like, okay, so I could either decide to be honest and vulnerable, or I can shut off and not. And then, all right, so let's look at how the difference between those two things go. Either route, you're still going to go through rejection and pain, regardless of which way you go through it. So do you want to go through it the way where at least you're going through a route where you were your honest self? Not when you shut those doors, you're not being your honest self. Sometimes they may never know exactly how you felt deep down on the inside, or at least to the degree to make a decision to should I reject and put this person through pain versus what I know that they're going through. If I don't know what you're actually going through, I might be rejecting you or putting you through pain that I may not have actually given you.
Right.
So do you want to go the route where at least you're representing your honest, like, true self, or do you want to go the route where maybe people have no idea what the fuck you actually really are at that point in time? Like,
it's just scary. I mean, it really is scary to, you know, I think, especially if you've gone through some trauma and very painful relationships, it's really fucking scary to even, like, you know, like, I never want to put my toes in the water because I'm like, I don't know that I can have my fucking throat ripped out like that or my heart ripped out like that again. Because it's, you know, when you get run over by a bus a few times, you're like, I don't know that, you don't know that you're going to get back from, you will. And, you know, then I see other people, you know, I see other friends of mine in some really delightful relationships and very vulnerable. And I'm like, oh, look, it actually works. But it's really, you know, I'm like really buttoned up.
Yeah.
And it's really scary to think about unbuttoning it all, because it's like I don't know that I sometimes, to navigate, especially through my job and work and stuff, like you have to be in armor.
Yeah.
You know, personal armor and professional armor, and that armor is hard to take off.
Yeah. The two things to that. So the first thing, the first time I went and did ayahuasca, the one only close friend that I would ever even recommend something like that to me, he's the one who told me where to go in Peru. And he was telling me about his experience when he went. And yeah, I would argue that he's a pretty, conscious, enlightened individual. He went down with another kid, and he said that kid immediately just had an experience that most people don't have until like their 10th time of doing ayahuasca, and just opened up. And he was just like, I realized that it was because of my lack of like being able to let go of my ego. Like, the person that he went down with kind of had like a nice silver spoon type of life, if you will. Never really had any traumatic experiences or traumas he needed to deal with. There was far less walls that needed to be torn down in order for him to achieve that state. And he's like, Samson, he's like, you can't be, your ego, you would not be where you're at right now if you didn't have it through all the deaths that you went through, the shit you went through in your childhood, almost dying several times yourself, this and that. He's like, the world would have fucking eaten you up and spit you out 4 times over if you didn't.
Well, it tried to.
Yeah.
It fucking tried to.
Yeah, it definitely did try to.
It fucking tried to.
So, sometimes, and then there's a time and a place to lose that chip on your shoulder. But there's a good argument for the ego, especially in a world where we're not a bunch of fucking hunter and gatherers anymore. So it's not about just physical shape and actual intellect. There's a ton of other things that are completely out of the realm of natural evolution that mean that you're going to need to build up an ego in order to navigate through what the fuck we call life, like real life now. That's when my mom would tell my brother and I, like, when you get into the real world, it's not talking about being a real man. It's talking about sometimes the real world doesn't give a fuck about whether or not you're a real man. You still need to pay your health insurance and all your fucking bills on time, and this and that. So, the
world is unmerciful. You find mercies all over the place with your friends, and if you get lucky, family, and if you get lucky, a lover. But it's an unmerciful fucking place. It's unmerciful sometimes, and it will literally fucking run you over. It will fucking try to kill you. Not on purpose, just like, it could try to kill you. And so, especially if you've been through a lot of stuff, the armor is really hard to get rid of. And lately I've been thinking about how to get rid of some of the armor. It's terrifying. It's like soul destroying, thinking about being like, it's hard.
I mean,
for me, some people are much better at it and are
I
softer.
think no matter what, if you've built up the armor, no matter what, if you've built it up, then it's going to be extremely difficult to take off. I had to get out of that last fucking job that I had, because I couldn't even have my Instagram had to be private. So did all my other social media. Basically everything that I really loved about me and things that I like to do as a person that are not bad things, but that the rest of the world has a certain opinion about, I could not share with the rest of the world without worrying about my job security. And that was one reason that I was like, how fucking free am I really? And then the rest of it,
I would fucking never want to work at, like, none of your fuck that.
That's fucking horrible. And then on top of it, it's like, okay, so I also make hip hop, but then more importantly, doing the podcast and things like that, like this conversation, there are certain things that I've already said that there is no way that I'd be able to hold that job. And then you take all the rest of that away and you just go, okay, if I'm willing to get open enough on airwaves to be like, the first girl I ever loved, the most memorable experience of my childhood is coming home to a foreclosure sign on my front lawn and not being able to turn on the lights. Oh yeah, by the time I was 19, like 10 friends died and 3 of them were the closest. I got thrown out of a fucking Jeep, landed on the back of my head. Don't remember any of it until I had flashbacks 5 years later of my friend dead on the ground. And oh yeah, 6 months after that happened, I got raided and kicked out of college. So that really showed me who was there for me and who wasn't. And then all just to get to a fucking job that, yeah, I was great at it, but basically was making my life a living hell because of all the other things. Not to mention my own development just wasn't there yet. So I probably give that job way more shit than I should, because it was really just just me growing in the first place. But being able to say all that shit out loud and not knowing that my aunt's going to listen to this. My mom's going to listen to this. My neighbor's going to listen to this. Everyone's going to listen to this.
I mean, it's hard. Listen, you think about this. It's like all the stuff with my dad, right? I never tell people this story because I can't. It's like my 3 or 4 closest friends know it because they lived it my life when he was alive and understood. And like, you know, you don't get to hide when the DEA raids your house and your name's on the front page of the fucking Boston Globe and Herald. There's no fucking hiding. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Or in all the other fucking traumas that, you know, that we go through. There's no fucking hiding, and it's hard to tell people your story sometimes, especially when they're not fucking asking, right? Right? Especially when you're like, I'd like to tell you about the 100 times like my mother beat me with a fucking shoe and broke my fucking nose. Who am I telling that story to? That a pre-meal story? Is that over a fucking glass of red wine? Like, who do I tell that story to? Mm-hmm. Who do I unload that level of pain to?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to talk about that. It's hard when you're fucking, you know, you think back about some things, and, you know, I certainly did some terrible things myself, and it's hard to unload that to other people. You're like, I can't burden somebody, but sometimes you have to. Yeah. I've talked about some, you know, my closest friends know plenty of my stories and have been through plenty of my stories. That's why we've been friends for 20 years. But it's hard to unload that stuff. It's hard to talk about that. You know, your aunt's going to watch this and be like, Jesus Christ, he's telling everybody all our, you know, because we're conditioned as human beings to, like, especially like I grew up Irish Catholic, and, you know, my dad was a WASP, so like that the nature of like not talking about anything, we're fine. The Irish, you know, have you ever seen The Departed?
Yep.
The Irish are impervious to therapy. We're constantly like our motto of our family is we're fine. Everything's fine. Sweep it under the rug. Everything's fine. It's not fucking fine. It's just decidedly not. Mm-hmm. And it's not fine for a lot of people. It's hard to talk about it.
I mean, and then so needing to go through depression, and then after that accident being put on SSRIs and benzos, which are your Xanax and Clonazepams, and needing to kick those and needing to learn everything I really learned about those.
So what kind of medicine did you take for depression?
First things first. Okay, anyone that goes through what I went through at that age, and the specific experience that I went through, where you see someone dead on the ground like that, but your brain has blacked you out, so you were there, but you were not there, and you don't remember until years later. You should be going through some grief and anxiety, okay?
100%.
These are natural things. The first thing the doctor shouldn't decide to do is put you on, and no one knows how bad benzos actually really truly are, because it's hidden until you go looking. You go and you look at things like benzo withdrawal, and then you realize that for mentally and sometimes physically, it could be way worse to kick those than it is even regular opiates. And the reason why most people are probably blowing their fucking brains out is because they don't realize that getting off of a benzo can fuck you up mentally for 9 to 18 months after.
How many benzos did you? So like
I was on like a milligram to 2 milligrams of Clonazepam a day. So
like my doctor prescribes me Xanax for flying. So I have major anxiety. Like I burst into tears, and that's. She'll only prescribe me like 10, and they're like They're very.
Then that's fine.
They're very
knock
low.
you the fuck out.
I mean, I chew up like 3 when I get on the plane. I'm just like goodbye.
But still, your 3 was my 1 daily, so that was like take a milligram a day. And now you do that consecutively for anywhere over 2 weeks. You can be basically
you're
what
addicted.
you're doing. Basically, you've built the Hoover dam to your adrenal gland. And then you take that away. First few weeks, you're fine. So you're like, oh, I'm not taking Clonazepam anymore. I'm fine. And then 2 months later, right around then, fucking the depression and anxiety, at least for me, it's different for everyone, right? And I'm not a doctor, just hits you like a fucking brick wall. But no one ever told you it was going to happen. So you're convinced that you're fucked up, that something is actually wrong with you. And now I remember there being a point where I would murder for a Clonazepam. I kept moving. I moved like 11 times in 10 years. So every time I moved, my doctor would change. And every time that would happen, there'd be like a 4-month period of time where I would not have Clonazepam. So all of a sudden this huge bout of depression and anxiety would come in, and I just thought that it was me. No one ever until one day I went on YouTube and YouTubed benzo withdrawal, and the hits load in, and I start watching these videos, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is exactly what I'm going through. It's not me. I'm not fucking going crazy. And I'm sure that so I think they put me on Lexapro was one of the SSRIs they put me on.
Lexapro will bury you. My friend had a psychotic break.
And the fucking doctor, because I missed one appointment, she took me off it immediately, which is the worst thing that you're supposed to do.
And like also, and I'm not a fucking doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not a psychologist, so like, you know, maybe I'm talking out my ass, but like, why are we prescribing people those kind of drugs and not having them in therapy? Like, those drugs are to help you. You know, you have a psychotic break, they bury you in Lexapro to get you fucking down.
I was in therapy too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, at least, because I was like, people shouldn't be prescribing these shits without a therapeutic to talk about it and like how we get you off. But right, people write a script, take this, good fucking luck.
Well, therapy will only make a difference if the person you're talking to actually cares. And when they don't actually care, and you have an inkling deep down like, holy shit, I'm way smarter than them. Maybe I didn't go through all this schooling and do all this, but as far as emotional cues goes, they don't know what the fuck is going on right now. And then when they don't actually care, they're very unwilling to actually listen. So it's like great because you get to get everything out once a week, but is it actually doing any more good than that when they're just trying to put you on? And then it's like, okay, so that's how I got started on Adderall, because they put me on so many fucking downers that I couldn't take the responsibility or at least function enough to do a job where I'm sitting at a desk all day long and staring at a computer and doing work.
Let's call Adderall what it is, meth.
Yeah, it's meth.
And it's
fucking
wonderful.
meth.
That's why this is like, this is my constant reason why I don't do drugs for the most part, because they're good. Drugs feel good.
Yeah.
You know what? Take a fucking Percocet and get in a warm bath, and it's like fucking heaven.
Yeah.
Guess really what? You can't do it. You can't take them, right? It's like I can barely have an edible. I have like I have half a 5 milligram, and I'm like, I can't feel anything. It's like I will fucking spin, right? Yep. I don't do cocaine because it's fucking great, and you know the voices. You know, you're up till 7 a.m. talking about how wonderful everybody is, or you're fucking, you know.
That's my Adderall, not cocaine.
And then your serotonin blows up, especially for Adderall, cocaine, any of those uppers. Those uppers on the fucking come down is
horrible.
It's a level of fucking horrible. That's why, I mean, listen. I've done plenty of drugs. I don't do them for a reason, because that come down is so fucking bad.
Yeah.
That you it's like you've blown out everything in your brain. You're like, well, I guess we'll try again tomorrow.
And after 25, I mean, every come down is worse than the last come down.
I mean, it's so funny because, you know, actually I went out and blew my brains out on Friday and like blacked out.
I saw that little balancing.
It's pretty dope, right?
Yeah, it was actually. I was like, I wonder if I could do that confidently.
Well, we'll try after this. Okay. You have to have very good balance. I mean, I also have 19 screws in my back from my scoliosis, which we'll talk about. But the getting up the next morning and realize I blacked out, and like, my friend texted me like, you made out with fucking Kiko. Which is hysterical in its own right? Yeah. Like it's Kiko, so I don't really fucking care, but like I don't remember it. That alone shame spiral was like, I'm like, well, I don't remember it, so fuck it, pretend it didn't happen. Like the shame spiral from just like going out and like making a few bad decisions with like one too many tequila is enough. For fucking forget that. You don't need to add meth, cocaine, a fucking edible to that spiraling out of control feels not fun.
Well, once you add that, I mean, the whole spiral is going to be worse, because in order to get to the blackout point in the first, if you get to blackout and you're on Adderall or cocaine, you're
dead. You're fucking dead.
Yeah. Like Wolf of Wall Street, when he's like, I wake up in the morning, I do this, and he's like, I go into the steam room, I do this. He's like, I got to hold. I'm like, dude, I would never been able to keep functioning if my life was like that. I don't know. He must have been a different type of human being to do that much drugs.
Have you seen him live talk?
No.
You should see. You should find out his name's Jordan something. He went to jail and everything. Yeah, he does now motivational speaking, and you should hear. He was like, I was a fucking lunatic. It's all about who's around you, right? So like this is for restaurants. Like I said, you're in a room, you get a bunch of good-looking people. Everyone likes to go out at night after. it's easy to hide
Yeah.
your addictions and your bad behaviors in there because everyone's doing it, right? So like nobody's going, hey, Johna, like if my friends saw the way I'd been, like the people who I don't work with, my non-work friends, my non-restaurant friends saw the way I've been behaving the last 3 weeks, somebody would have grabbed me by the throat and been like, lock it up, bitch. You're a hot ass mess. This isn't a good look for you. But I know I'm not. I'm with all my, we're all out every night. So I'm putting fucking drinks on top of my head and I'm making out with fucking gay guys in the bar in my local neighborhood bar. So like I'm making bad calls around here.
Yeah.
But that's what restaurants are. They allow you to hide in your wildness. And like at 25, so like that's the other life lesson. Nobody gives a fuck what you do till you're 30, right? Blow your life up like 10 times in your 20s. Who gives a shit? I keep trying to tell people like pick 5 jobs, take some risk. Because nobody cares. At 25, you get clipped from your job. Nobody gives a fuck, right? 35, everyone's like, the fuck do you do? Because you got 15 years of being like, this was right, this was wrong, this was right, I made a mistake. At 35, you're like, what the fuck are you doing, right? Nobody cares at 25. I wish I did, I tell this to people all the time, like, I wish I did more things when I was in my early 20s. Like, I wish I slept with the 19,000 people I should have, but I was too shy to, or too embarrassed, or was like, oh, I don't want to be a slut. Why? Stupid. I should have fucked them all. More of them. I wish I had like 200 people. You know what I mean? I don't know why, and especially for women. I just don't know why, especially, and I was like, God, I see like my young friends, and I'm like, you should do it. You should definitely do this. Whatever, if you're thinking about it, you should do it. To all my guys and girls, I'm like, absolutely go for it. Why not? You got one shot, shoot your shot. Fuck it. We're so dumb in our 20s to like, just do whatever you want. Who cares? Yeah. Because at 35, 40, everyone's like, what the fuck you doing?
I was like, you wouldn't think so. And I tell people this and they really don't believe it. But like, I think of myself as being shy. But that's because
that's a tough sell.
That's me.
That's a tough sell.
That's also me holding myself to my inner expectations, which should show you how high they are for myself. So I think I'm shy, and like up until like late 20s, even arguably, there's things I'm still trying to fix. Like I've not been like that, like confident of a person. So.
I mean, confidence.
Most people would not know. They'd have no idea that I didn't feel that way.
I mean, I'm glad you told me because now I'll obviously see you in a different light, but that's not, you're right. Nobody sees that. Yeah. Everyone sees a whole different thing.
I've been, there's been things that have been so wrong about my life since I was a little kid that I've become great at the walls yes. and building those yes. walls and putting them up. I mean, it's so funny. When I was bar backing behind the bar for a little bit, I was with Molly one time. And one time I was like, the fuck are you smiling at? And she's like, I'm not smiling at anything. She's like, I just kind of like learned how to crop my face this way. So I'm always smiling. And I know I have a resting bitch face. And I'm convinced that like shit was wrong in my childhood. So I put on this face that like still sticks with me to this day. So when I'm really just being shy, people will see me from across the room thinking I have a problem or something's wrong.
So like I don't think that's what we see at the restaurant. So like that's not the energy I get. I get a lot of like, I see a lot of confidence and swagger. I think that's what a lot of people see. I don't think you're quiet. Mm-hmm. So you're not one to.
I could get going, but
of course, you're quiet. Yeah. And so I think people see that. I don't really see a resting bitch face. I think I see confidence. Like you walk. I can always tell when people. I'm like for lack of a better term, it's like big dick swinging. Everyone's got to have it. There are days when I'm dying inside, and I'm like, put your fucking heels on, blow out your hair. Put on some lipstick. We're going for it, and everyone in the room's got to know you're the only fucking bitch that matters. Mm-hmm. And those. Well,
I think if anything, it's more about like when it had come to women in the past, less.
You're quiet, things. So the quiet part.
Yeah.
Listen, we all want to be fawned over, right? Mm-hmm. We all want to be. All of us want to be.
Yeah.
Fawned, mm-hmm. right? Everybody wants that. Everybody wants to be told, and I dare anyone to deny it. Everybody wants to be told like you're attractive, or I find you attractive, or I like talking to you. Everybody wants to hear that. So for the opposite sex, especially so how we're cultured, right? Like if you're being quiet and shy, we're going to be like, well, this
they don't like
you're
me.
going to get two reactions.
Yeah.
One, the one bitch who's going to be like, I have to go get him, and he's not until I'm done. I'm gonna crack this nut. This is fucking
Yeah.
And then there's the others who are like, well, he doesn't give a fuck about me. He doesn't like me. He's not paying any attention to me. There's other people who might pay attention to me, and I would like to be paid attention to.
Yeah.
We all want attention.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's it. I mean,
like I said earlier, I've been working on being less passive my entire fucking life. So we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. But to the same point, and to wrap it to what we were talking about before, and just in general, relationships and getting run over by a bus over and over and over, and is it even really worth it to like try anymore? You get to that point. I was talking to my friend Alexandra yesterday, and I had heard a while back, because we were talking about relationships and stuff like that, and everyone is who they are, so they're gonna. I think that there's some people that settle down too early, and I think that there's people that are obviously going to get a divorce, or that spend a lifetime of trying to make something that'll never work.
Correct.
And et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. But I heard one time this guy, like I don't know, he's some millionaire, like he had a successful life, and he's basically saying that he wanted, he had sat down and he wrote all these pages about what the woman of his dreams would be like,
right.
What she would look like, how she would act, all these things, just to kind of like try to manifest that. But the thing that he wasn't doing was sitting down and writing what all the things that the man, the woman of his dreams, what the man that she would pick would be like, who that would be.
Right.
And it wasn't until he sat down, thought about all those things, wrote them out, and then started working on himself to become all of those things, that it was around the same time that he finally had, who knows, maybe he just lucked the fuck out and he's a millionaire, so, it makes it a lot easier. But I think it's a really good point for like all of life, whether it's a relationship or anything else with life. It's like, don't just sit down and write what the best case scenario of your life to your own degree and standards could be like in 1, 3, or 5 years. Write down, if you don't fix everything that you don't like about your life and that you don't like about yourself, and what you will turn into in 1, 3, and 5 years, so that you have a hell to work away from. Because on a great motivated day, that's all great, and yes, I'm gonna go and do it. But on a shitty day, if you don't have that picture of what your shitty self is gonna be like in 5 years, if you don't fix those things, you're just gonna keep laying on the couch. You're just gonna keep making those like bad 100%. Decisions. So I think I'm kind of where I was going was like, I think I'll probably run into the girl of my dreams within the next few years.
I think you will too, and I think it's I'm always looking at these relationships people, and I'm like, these fucking clowns, like this. I look at some of my friends and I'm like, this fucking person's a clown. The fuck are you? Like, a good friend of mine is dating, he's broken up with her like 10 times. He's a fucking monster. He's an actual fucking monster. And I finally looked at her and I was like, if I see him on the street, I'm going to hit him with the fucking brick on his head. So I see relationships like that and I'm like, not a shot. I like being, this is wonderful. Mm-hmm. I do what I want. I say what I want. I have nobody's tying me up. I'm not fucking sitting in the bathtub crying my eyes out. And then I see other people in really beautiful relationships, really open, honest, caring, and I'm like, oh, fuck, it can happen. It's just what you open your heart to.
Yeah.
And I think I see a lot of really happy, healthy people that figure it out and have good emotional, EQ. And those people who understand themselves and are willing to look inside themselves. Like, if you've ever listened, do you ever listen to Jada Pinkett Smith?
Sometimes.
She's fucking awesome.
I've loved her since Tupac.
Thank you. I'm obsessed with her, right? I've loved her since Menace to Society, which is what I was watching the other day. An incredible performance by her.
And you want to know what? If I wasn't driving, I would have replied to that story.
That fucking movie's incredible. It's
one
really
is.
Out of all the genres of those, remember there was like probably 5 or 6 of those like gangster movies between Juice and all that. That's like, I think my favorite one. It's so brutal. Mm-hmm. Anyways, she gives these like talks, right? She's like the Red Table Talks, but I'll never forget one she would post on Instagram about like, she's like, I don't look to my husband to make me happy.
Yeah.
She's like, I make myself happy and then we enjoy each other. He doesn't look to me to make me. And I was like, my God, That's one of the most insightful, thoughtful things I've ever heard in my life. And I don't know how I've never heard it before, but thank you, Jada Pinkett Smith, for that, because I don't know who needs to hear that.
But somebody
needs
a lot
to
of
hear
people need to hear
We
it.
all need. I needed to hear it. I was like, oh, correct.
Well, I've been lucky enough to have like a really strong mother. So, and like, I don't know how my mom turned out as good as she turned out. She used to get the shit beat out of her all the fucking time. Like, she's a fucking, she's fucking graces everyone with her fucking presence. She's a very strong woman. And so 2 things. The first thing she told me, she's like, listen, Steven, a lot of the times people will tell you, like, okay,
I forget your name's Steven.
Everyone does. And I know when I drop it, but I could not tell the story and be like, my mom says, so, Samson. So she doesn't say it. My mom says, listen, Steven. She's like, a lot of people say, if you want to see what a woman's going to look like when she's older, then you should look at her mother. And I'll tell you right now, that's complete bullshit. She's like, you want a woman that's going to like look good even in like her much, much older years, then like that's the woman that goes to the gym when she's single because she's doing it for herself. And the same thing's going to apply for everything else. So the second part of that and what that wraps around in is the only thing you ever really need to find in a mate, aside from being truthful, is that they hold themselves accountable.
Correct.
So if they properly always hold themselves accountable, then your relationship's going to be fine because the way that they interact with themselves with you is going to be just as honest. And then I've noticed, even particularly when it comes to things like sex, the more open and honest the communication is, the way better the sex is.
Way better.
On a whole different level.
You know what? You don't learn that till you're a little older. So like, it's a couple things, right? You're out there running and gunning when you're young and you're just fucking people here and there, your random hookups, right? It's really hard to get to a place where it's going to be absolutely mind-blowing with some fucking person you met drunk at a bar. Like, it's fucking sloppy, it's messy. Yeah. You're not going to be doing things to like, you're going to give a bare minimum performance, right? Like, you're going to be like, just I'm going to fucking throw it in and get out, right? And for girls, we're like, just fuck me and let's go, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're in a really committed relationship and you have time and you're into it, there's many possibilities, but you have to be really honest, and it's really hard to, I think it's gotten better. The sexual revolution for people has gotten a lot better. Like, there are some of my friends that like, I'm still so uptight about stuff, and I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Watch it on YouTube. What are you talking about? You should be, yes, do that, yes. But I think now, like, people are way more open and way more willing to ask for stuff, especially women. Like, the things I wouldn't even say out loud when I was 20 are things I would, I'm not willing to say them on this podcast, but you know what I mean. And I think that's when things start to change. The needle moves. Yeah,
for sure.
And, but that takes, you gotta feel safe with somebody, right? Yeah. You're not, it's, when you're naked, it's they're there. You're pretty vulnerable.
Oh, probably since college, I haven't had sex with anyone that I didn't actually like mentally as well. There had to be something I liked about them mentally. Yeah, as well. I can't just like. There's like, I also, if ever, I'm not a one night stand person. That's just not something that gets me going. Yeah,
it's not. I'm not really a one. I mean, listen, I've had plenty of them, but they're it's an itch to scratch. Like you just sometimes you're not.
That's a great way to put it.
It's an itch to scratch, and like also sometimes there's a level of validation when you an attractive person. You're just you find an attractive person. You're like, oh, let's just fucking do this. Yeah. One night stands are not that fun anymore. They're like, this is exhausting and messy and like now I got to get you out of here. And what you find attractive at 20 is not what you find attractive in your late 30s. Like, it feels, the things that I'm attracted to are like people's energy. Like, obviously attractive people are attractive. Yeah, sure. You see somebody and you find something attractive about it, but I'm really only attracted to energy. Like, if your energy is incredible and I think you have something to show me, that's when I my interest becomes piqued. Mm-hmm. I'm not interested to like, fuck a Ken doll just because he looks good or has money. Like, I have money too. I don't need your fucking money. I don't give a fuck. I pay for my own drinks. I pay for my own trips. I don't need anybody. I like presents. I like things, but I've never.
Listen, I like presents.
I like presents, but I'm not fulfilled that way.
Yeah.
As you get older, the things you're attracted to are not just physical things. It's that washes away, because you can be with the fucking hottest guy you've ever seen, right? You can be like, this guy's so fucking hot, I cannot wait. The sex can be a disaster. You do not know what's going on. It can be bad on every level. You could meet the hottest girl you've ever met. You'd be like, this girl, she's making my fucking brain explode. And she could be a fucking cold fish. It could be a fucking disaster.
Starfish laying there.
Right. Correct. So as you get older, you realize that you're like, this isn't the only thing that matters. For some people they do, disingenuous and, self-involved fuckers who only give a fuck about external.
We're probably also not going to stay in a committed relationship and are fucking around while they're in one.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's very strange how we think about relationships, how linear we insist on them being. It's like, it's okay if you're only married for 10 years and you have to divorce. Like, it's okay. I think that's a fine run. I think that's a good run. You had a good 10 years. Divorces if you're messy. I think, is it realistic to think you're only going to sleep with one person for the rest of your life? I don't know, but it also feels bad thinking about somebody fucking behind your back too.
For sure.
So I don't know what the right.
So you need a best case scenario where maybe you were so open and honest the entire time
hard.
that they want to.
How do you? It's hard to think.
Yeah,
we've been so conditioned to think about what your relationship should look like, and like fucking gay men have it right. Like, a lot of those relationships are open and everybody's in on it and it's fucking great. And I'm like, this is what's wrong with fucking straight people. We don't know what to fucking do. We fuck it up.
Yeah.
Because we get jealous and insecure and.
Yeah, and half the time it's the
secrets and lies that fucking split you in half.
For sure. Yeah.
Like if you're dating somebody and they're like, I'm also dating this person, like, okay, they told you the truth, so you're either in or you're out. Mm-hmm. It's the fucking lies and the secrets that start the voices in the head, and then and then you're down a fucking black hole of hate and hell.
And so like I even know, it wasn't with me, it was with someone I'm close with who had a situation where like they were in an open relationship, but then they're in an open relationship, so I ended up hooking up with another girl, and then kind of was eating at them because they felt like they needed to tell the person they're in the open relationship with, even though they're in an open relationship. So they told them, and that person wasn't, even though they were being open and honest, the way that society tells you how a relationship should be. I mean, the whole open relationship thing, it can work, but it depends where the people are at. And if one person or both are both at a point where this open relationship is still functioning like everything like a normal real relationship, then you're also going to let everything about how society tells you a normal relationship should be that sneaks in. So then they get extremely upset and fucking torn up over the fact that they hooked up with someone else in an open relationship. So this person thinks that they're being the good person by telling this person, but it's really fucking
you can't fucking win.
And you can't fucking win.
I've seen open relationships work for people. It's not even in a wavelength of who I am. I don't even, and I'm like, it's not like I couldn't be open to it. I don't know if I'm built for that. Like, I just can't even imagine. Like, I think it would fucking split me in half.
Yeah.
I
will fulfill a double standard there, where it was like, okay, if you wanted to bring if I was with a girl who liked girls, then, or who liked to bring one in every once in a while, like that would be fine. But like the other way around is not going to win. And I'll tell you,
most men can't handle that part of the story.
But I think it's like down to like a primitive evolutionary thing of like, I'm super protective. So like it's not like you're my property. It's just like, I can't watch it. I don't know. I couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it either.
If she went and hooked up with someone else and I wasn't there, maybe
I mean, those are
Maybe.
things. It's like the people who can do that are a level of enlightened
Yeah.
for themselves because they know themselves truly. They're like, I
Yeah.
love you, I'm in it, but I also need these things. And the other person's like, I mean, I've seen some people
Like
do
Pretty Woman, right? He falls in love with her on the entire time knowing that she's a prostitute. You know?
Love is love. I mean, love wins. Who knows?
Yeah, so there's situations that are like, you know, that love wins, and you know, like when you know that like the other situation that it's happening in, that you're still the one, that takes a different level of open, honest communication before you could even make that call.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking thousands of years of societal behavior that it's hard to chip away from, where we're conditioned. It's like thinking about pink and blue clothes for boys and girls. We're conditioned. It's hard for people to wrap their head around that. It's gotten a lot better, right?
Yeah.
Like the gender fluid has gotten a lot better, and the ability for us to see trans people as, you know, human beings and to respect them has gotten a lot, at least in this state.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what it's like for people who are gender fluid or trans in Alabama. Correct. And
let's take a moment to say hats off to fucking Euphoria, because I thought they did a great job of
another show that literally split my soul in half.
great.
Zendaya
Great
narrating every episode was, if she doesn't win an Emmy, I'm going to flip a fucking table
She
over.
probably will.
She was so, I could have stayed in the Rue, and what's the girls, the trans
Jules
relationship with them. I could have stayed in that for 52 episodes.
Yeah.
Every part of that show was so fucking perfect.
But you real, like, obviously you do, but trans never was said.
Never.
It was always, the show did
Nobody
a great
gave a
job.
fuck.
I mean, there's clear giveaways. Like when you watch a second time, like clearly you could see her dick in the underwear.
So that's,
you know?
I had to go back and rewatch that. I was like,
But
wait
when
a
you
second.
first watch, you don't really know, and they don't tell you anything about the hormones she's shooting into her ass
Nope.
or anything. So I thought they did a great job of making you accept her as a girl before you ever had to accept her as a girl.
The other part about it is that you didn't care.
Exactly.
You were in. You met these two people
for
who
her.
got each other at a base, at a cellular, granular level, and you were in. Everybody was in. Anyone who watched that show who has any fucking emotional anything in their life will watch that show and be like, I'm all fucking in.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that was one of the best shows, and I was so surprised by how much I loved it. I literally, the soundtrack is on another level. I've added like 10 songs.
And the direct is just on a different level as
the
well.
production level.
I added a bunch of songs too. Mount Everest Ain't Got Shit on Me still drops in the gym sometimes when I'm in there.
Right.
And I fucking go in.
I mean, I was absolutely floored by that show. Another show, right? Like those are, like a show like that can teach you about yourself, can teach the world about, like, we're just human beings, and these are what two people who understood each other, we lived with them, and we were all so in on it.
Yeah.
And it was like the last episode was such a fucking heartbreak. The mother, I'll tell you, the mother speaking about Rue in the meeting, like the parent, the alcohol, whatever, the NA meeting, was one of the most, it was brutal. I bawled my eyes out. I was like, this is so fucking brutal. And her sitting there crying her eyes out, I was like, this is like a fucking bullet to the heart.
Yeah, and even the first time it kind of happened where they play like Fly,
Right.
and it's her they're asking how your summer was and reflecting back on that, and she's on stage kind of losing her shit thinking about the happy moment in the car with her mom and her
Right.
sister. But there's so many good points in that. Like when the black guy sits her down outside and goes, yeah, you got to really wonder what it does to a younger sibling when they need to find their older sibling ODing, and then they need to bring them CPR. That kind of shit probably fuck them up for the rest of their life. And I'm like, there are several people right now that I really hope fucking watch this episode and have this guy tell them to it straightforward like that. Like,
Yeah. And I mean, also too, like when he was like, you're fucking on drugs, dude. Like,
yeah.
I mean, another one of my favorite characters was the white drug dealer. I was so in love with him and Rue. I was like, date him. I like him.
Yeah, they need to make a movie about Mac Miller and have him play Mac.
Seriously. I mean, he was also so... Everybody on that show was giving... Even Nate, who was like the fucking worst character. By the way,
Amazing performance.
that guy, first of all, that guy slaps. I mean, that's, he was on this other movie in Netflix that I watched 20 times just to watch him because he's so fucking gorgeous. But when he was on the show and he was such a monster and so ruined, fucking ruined.
I don't want to ruin anything, but I might have shot him in one scene. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. But
he was a monster. But, those things tell us about our lives,
yeah,
right?
For sure.
And, that show really, and it was like, nothing is so fun for like everyone to like be in on it. And like, I get to work and like someone would be like, did you watch last episode? And I'm like, did you just see it? Did you watch Succession?
No. Succession?
Samson. Please, at the moment this podcast ends, that's on a top priority. That and Fleabag, and then we can discuss anything else you want. But like Succession is about it's like a family like the Murdochs. It's 2 seasons, 10 episodes a season. It just finished at season 2.
What's it on?
HBO.
Okay. Word.
So I think I watched the best episode of TV I've ever watched.
Really?
The finale, and I'm talking about I've watched about 42 episodes of Battle of the Bastards of Game of Thrones. So like that's another one of my favorite episodes of all time. But this finale episode of Succession, I was like, is this the best TV show I've ever watched in my entire life? This episode, was this it? Because I was gobsmacked the whole time. So I keep trying to get everyone at work to do it, and like there's like 3 of us who've watched it.
Okay, I'll watch it. I need a few good new shows. Right, I went back and I've just been thrown on Maniac at night just to.
Is that good?
I enjoyed it.
It's Jonah Hill and.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it actually enough to throw back on, and even if it's just.
Who's the director on that?
I'm not sure. I need to get better.
It's Carrie Fuqua, the guy who did the first season of True Detective.
Is it? Okay, yep. Makes sense then, because it's pretty good. And the first season of True Detective, Jesus Christ.
Fucking The Reconnaissance. Him and Woody just giving it to us. I'm in for like weird shit like that. I'm like, this is the wildest. That show is incredible. I mean, there's so much good TV, and just like it's, we're so attached to our phones. It's so nice to be able to go and watch real good art on like
for sure
your house and like
for sure.
No, it's just I'm when I go on my retreat after I leave work, which I think will be Bali if I can figure out the ticket. I might like I'm gonna bring my phone because I don't want to be in the world without it in case I need something bad happens.
Tap into those 26 books. That's if there's ever
that's what
a
I'm
place.
gonna do. I might ship them to wherever I'm staying and just like.
Yeah,
I'm taking all those
Bill
books
Gates
with me.
on.
Listen, I love to read. I've always been a reader, and I usually in the summer get through like 10 or 12 books, and I got through like 3, which depressed me because I'm partially like our phones are addictive. It's an absolute insanity what we're like. I have to remind myself like if I'm tired in bed, I'm like, don't pick your phone up. Just roll over and try to sleep a little bit more because you're exhausted and you look fucking terrible. Don't pick your phone up because the moment you do, you're like literally plowing through Instagram.
Oh, and you'll have something you need to go and do in the other room, and then you'll pick your phone up, and then you'll literally forget. It stifles literally everything.
It's everything, and we're attached to them, and I know I'm attached to mine. Some of mine is business, right? Some of them I'm looking at emails to make sure a client doesn't need something, or if the owners ask me for something. Part of the job is actually, and it makes my job easier. Like I can do 40% of my work on this phone before I walk into work, which changes the game for me. It means I don't have to go in at noon. I can go in at 2, and I've done all the bullshit. I've looked at who's working. Yeah. I've made cuts. I've made the business decisions. So without that would suck. Yeah. That being said, the amount of we are addicted to our phones. We're addicted to looking
that's why I threw that in there for the social media, less than 20 minutes a day in the Sober October challenge.
So you said nicotine was the hardest thing, right?
Then the next one would be social media. And I put in there in the rules, like, listen, there's some people where if you have a job, like I released an episode. So like there was a weekend that I was on social media a lot. But I'm honest. So when you see me put up those things, if I didn't do the 20 minutes a day, it will not be marked. But I probably have I'll probably end the month with like 83% succession rate of the amount. So out of 30 days of doing 20 minutes or less, I'll probably come in at 20 when you include 5 that I was doing it for Tourage.
Right.
So only 5 did I feel like I actually really faulted on that. But it's hard. And everyone else said that that's one of the hardest things too, where it's like you pick up your phone and you don't even realize.
You don't even know what you're doing. You literally, I'll pick up my phone and
just scroll like, you change the screen and then Instagram or just something else, you just go straight to it.
And then because the way Instagram stories work, you're just flying through stories of people. And then I'm always like making fun of like content. Like it's like, I got to get content for things. And, you're addicted to this. I'm addicted to, I got rid of Facebook. I'm done. They've taken too much of our information. I'm fucking over it. If you watch that movie, The Great Hack, I was like, well,
yep.
You guys are fucking horrible people. Mark Zuckerberg, you're a monster. And they need to break Facebook up.
Well,
it's too big.
You want to talk about fucking, like, we could talk about how ridiculous and how Trump shouldn't be the president is till we're blue in the face, but the whole the power, like the elite and the ones with money, you have access to something like Cambridge Analytica, where all of a sudden you're able to determine all the ones that are still
you fucking rigged an election.
Yeah,
and you did it. Hold on,
that is unfair. It is just. It's like, okay, everyone say, let's make this simple.
You've rigged the system.
You got to build a house. Everyone, let's see who could build the best house. But you give another motherfucker an entire contract agency of construction workers.
Correct.
With the most advanced tools, and everyone else a hammer and at most a jackhammer and maybe a nail gun. And then you're going to wonder who wins what. Like, it is a different level of manipulation.
You rigged the game. You rigged the game, and not only that, you knew what was happening, and you didn't stop it, and you didn't speak up about it. So because you're a billionaire, and I guarantee that they're gonna break up Facebook. I would be surprised if they're not gonna let this go on much longer because it's insanity. Yeah.
So, but like, I really wonder at what point whether I'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I'm not sure how much he should even be able to have it, but I really wonder at what point in time, was there a point in time Mark Zuckerberg really had the whole transition from data, like he definitely realized before everyone else that data was the commodity and started to profit and benefit from that. But when things like the personality traits and everything are going in order, and then Cambridge Analytica's coming around, is he realizing the extent to which people were benefiting from that data?
If he didn't know, or somebody on his team didn't know, then the whole team should have been clipped.
Yeah.
End of story.
But it's like, I've sold software that hooks up to 1 million different data sources in the past. So if each different hookup is going to a different company for different reasons, and one of them is just like, these are personality traits, and another one's just like, here's what time people wake up and this and that. At what point in time do you realize like Cambridge Analytica specifically is one that's working with the president, and that is it is too much.
This is the story. People have willingly, one of the best parts, or used to be, about being an American citizen is a level of autonomy we've had, right? But what you want to do behind closed doors is your fucking business, and we're not gonna, as long as you're not hurting anybody, you can do what you want, right?
Yeah.
Autonomy. It's one of the most, it's a pinnacle of what we base this country on in the Constitution. People have willingly given away all their fucking autonomy. Willingly. They're like, here's all my information. It's like, what dumb motherfucker wants to do the 23andMe? Like, one of those fucking friends of mine
I did it.
I did not. You know why? Because when they sell that to an insurance company and I can't get insured because I might have a fucking gene marker, fuck you.
Yeah, that's a good
And everyone's
point.
like, oh, you think that's going to happen? I was like, yeah, I do. The insurance company are insidious fucking horror. They're the worst. They can't be trusted, and the moment they get that kind of information,
that's a really good point. I looked at it like, well, the government already has my blood, my fingerprints, and all my other DNA, so fuck it.
Yeah, but that company we don't know anything about 23andMe. That information could be hacked by it.
And she's married to someone really powerful, the woman that started that company too.
I'm sure she is.
I just heard this. Came up. I'm reading it. I just finished Homo Deus.
How was that?
It was great. Yeah, it was really good. I liked it a lot.
Maybe I'll. I got a couple more books.
That's a good one. I mean, that's one that I like to have a story book and a book like that going around the same point in time, so I could shuffle back and forth, because it's a lot of facts that are thrown at you. But this is kind of like, so Homo sapiens was like building up to where we're at, and Homo Deus is like, here's the state of the state, and here's where it kind of looks like it's going. But it does paint a really nice picture. Like, we were kind of, we say that the world's like should be outraged and everything right now, but I mean, as a whole, more people have been lifted out of poverty than ever before. I mean, there's a lot of good going on. So
there is. We just don't. We just never hear enough about it.
The news is focused on all the bad shit.
That's why I stopped watching TV news.
I don't either.
I stopped.
I mean, even when I listen to news that is TV news, I have to take it with such a grain. It's more just like, I'd like to be aware of the things going on, and then take it in with my own 2 cents added into it, and a grain of salt.
I try to read it now, because I'm like, if I watch the news and I listen, I can't. Even CNN, I'm just like, Wolf Blitzer, fuck off. And I just, reading it on Twitter is much easier to absorb, because you get I'll follow the Washington Post and the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, and then you at least can read stories with journalists that aren't trying to color it and have big hair on TV, and I'm not into watching the news anymore. It's fucking painful. Yeah. Every time I put it on, I'm like, oh great, the world's ending. Wonderful. That's why I drink tequila.
Yeah.
It fixes
it. Nuts too. There's shows that I used to like that I just can't stand anymore, and I don't feel like the information's being delivered the right way. But I don't know. The book opens up and gives you this fact. I think it's in 2015. They said that globally, 56 million people died, about that many. And they said that 620,000 were due to violence, and of that, 120,000 was due to war, but that 800,000 was due to suicide, and 1.5 million was due to diabetes. So it is the first time in all of humanity where more people will die from sugar and eating too much instead of having too little, and killing themselves, than all of violence added up together in the entire world. Insane. That's
incredible.
That I was just like, holy shit. And from suicide outweighed all of war and all of violence.
It's crazy. I mean,
some people should talk to each other.
You should talk to each other.
You should talk to each other. And don't forget a lot of people, you don't ever think you know what someone else is going through. On the days that I was running a fucking sales team and had arguably a way more demanding job lifestyle than ever before, were the most depressed days of my entire fucking life. And somehow you get through it. So you really can't you can't just judge people from the outside. You should talk to people. You should open up to people, or at least care about,
I would agree. I mean, I a lot of times my friends are like, oh, are you doing Barbara Walters now? Because when I meet new people, I start asking them questions like, oh, what do you do? How do you know this person? It's probably because of my job. I'm trying to make people comfortable, and I want them to open up. And I want them to feel good. That's just part of being a hospitality person. You're ingrained to want people to have a nice time. So I spend a lot of time. I'll just start digging and ask people questions. I want to know about them, and I'm nosy. But you would be surprised at things random people tell me. And I'm like, okay.
I probably wouldn't. I mean, you might be surprised at shit people tell me too.
People open up to me sometimes in the ways that I was like people I don't know. I'm like, okay, I can hear it all. I'm not going to judge people.
Half the shit they probably can't say to some of their closest friends is probably. I mean, and here's probably why even when I did the radio, and I would be like, oh, Johna, shout out my radio show. You'd be like, how do I do it? Send me a voice memo. What do I say? I don't know. Just say whatever you want, but just say you're listening to Samson and the Delilah Disco 91.1 FM, WMUA at the end. So I'd have people send me things from live at a party, send me things, and they're fucking up how they're saying it, and they need to do it. And and I would play that exact thing. I'm so big and in the moment. That's why this is no agenda. There's no script. We're just going to have it. I love the in the moment part of it all. And I think a lot of that comes down to when I was a little kid, I got into watching Taxi Cab Confessions on HBO.
One of the best shows I've ever seen in my life.
Ever fucking
Go
made.
back and watch any one of them. They're fucking incredible.
Any of them. I mean, you will start the show and it will.
The amount of sex people were having.
I know. But you'll start the show and every fucked up little stereotype that you have somehow been deluded, like slowly conceived about what the person that just got into this car is going to be like, is should like, what you do like and don't like, it pops into your head. And then they start talking. And because it's a stranger, and same way, like I probably at this point have about 150 recorded conversations with Uber drivers that I can't post because I never asked permission, but I've always just started recording conversations with strangers, and always, like, the amount of voice memos in my phone. Like the other night I was giving desserts to homeless people in Boston. I just turn on it and I just start recording it. Oh, tell me like a fucking story or something. I've always loved that. But Taxi Cab Confessions is like, okay, I assumed all this shit, and how fucking wrong was I? Like,
it's that show. And, you know, I watched, at the time I was young to watch it. I was like, this is...
me too. I was,
when you're an only child, your parents have no way to entertain you. So my parents were older when they had me too. So I think they were like, here, watch TV and do stuff. And, we'll send you to summer camp. But that show was like a fucking revelation. I was like, everyone's having sex. The shit people were saying about each other.
Yeah.
The things people were confessing to about.
In different level.
And also agreed to it. Like, after they were like...
Yeah, it was like, okay.
And they were like, all right, let's sign waivers.
I just said the truest shit ever. And, like, it's not like I wouldn't stand... So imagine all the ones that also didn't, But...
Oh, my God, right?
I mean, before when we were talking about, like, a relationship, like, wouldn't it be nice, like, a woman that wants to bring in another woman? I mean, I was thinking of a Taxi Cab Confession episode,
Insane.
And there's one where it's a fucking black woman prostitute being driven to a guy's place that she's about to be with, and you hear her talk about her life, and you are like, I had everything wrong about this woman, even though she's still being dropped off at this dude's place.
Listen, sex work is real work, motherfuckers. Sorry. It's the dawn of time, and finally it sounds like women are getting ahead of it instead of getting run by a bunch of bad... Have you ever seen the movie Pimps Up, Hoes Down, the documentary on HBO?
I don't think so. Yeah.
It's some real shit. It follows around like 5 or 6 different prostitutes. A couple of their pimps. They go to the Players Ball. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Ice-T's there. All these pimps are... you get a look at it. I'm not kidding. You get a look at Ice-T. What a fucking flex. You're a rapper talking about killing cops.
Yeah.
You're at a pimp's ball, you're at a player's ball as a pimp, talking about your pimp game. 10 years later, you're on fucking SUV, fucking walking around being like, oh, everything's wonderful. What a flex.
Did you ever see Dave Chappelle's, the original Chappelle show, where he would I called in I called in a bomb threat to the Special Olympics, and it's all the pimps talking about how like they've all done more fucked up shit. And you remember that part?
No, I don't think but one of my favorite ones was when they were doing the I think it's like the Ghetto Jeopardy, and he's like, what is a badunkadunk?
Oh,
it's like something you put your mug up on and ride.
The one barber like, Lucy, that's something you go into the side store, you get from the A-Rab.
That show was a fucking revelation, and he just
What is a chicken head?
I can't. That show was a revelation. He was a revelation.
His last stand-up was a revelation.
A revelation. He said some shit.
That's a speech to the world.
P.S. All of it, I was like, I'm in. I get it, except the Michael Jackson shit. I was like, you know what? I watched that documentary on HBO. It was so fucking hard to watch. It was like unbearable. I could barely get through the second part of it. I believe what happened. I believe it. And I'm not willing to forgive a child molester who fucking ruined multiple kids' lives. Those guys, the 2 guys who were on there, who were on that documentary, one of the guys, Wade Robson, is like a very famous choreographer and is, his life is probably very fucked up, but he seems to have been stitched together a little bit better. The other kid looked like
I didn't watch it, so I don't know.
It's fucking dark, man. Like, I watched it because everyone was talking about it and everyone was freaking the fuck out about it. And when you watch it, so the shit that he did to these kids, and like a lot of people had had a lot of parents had their kids watch it, because for people like sexual, like molesters and those kind of those people that do that kind of harm, like priests who fucking rape children. It's not just like some guy grabbing you and dragging you in an alley and fucking raping you, right? It's a whole different culture. They spend all this time conditioning these children and separating them and finding very vulnerable people, right? They separate them. And then they make children believe this relationship is something that it isn't, right? That it isn't bad. This is that we're in love, and these kids are so fucked up. It's so fucking dark. It's like, I got through the half of the second one. I was like, I can't. I believe it. But Dave Chappelle being like, Michael, and I'm like, David, you got kids, man.
Do you believe that theory that like Michael Jackson was probably castrated at a young age by his parents?
I don't know that theory. If you watch this documentary, it seems that he wasn't. He definitely fucked these kids. He bought one a wedding ring at 9 years old. The kid still has it. It's like, this is what I'm saying. It's fucking dark. Yeah. Also, I saw The Joker last week by myself.
Me too. I went by myself too.
Let's never do that again. I left it. I was like, do I have any friends around?
What?
It was dark. I left the theater and I was like, he was absolutely incredible. And
that fucking talk show too was
that last 25-minute montage of him like getting dressed and being on the show.
I definitely when he was in there, because I went by myself too, but by like even just through the previews of shows that haven't come out yet, I knew who around me. I had the same sense of humor because we'd be laughing, and I was just like, oh shit. Yes. Fucking. That last 25-minute montage, I was like, fuck. Yeah. The dancing, the putting the makeup on. Oh, yeah. The letting the midget go. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I was like, this is fucking. It was like fucking good. It was good. Really, and Joaquin. Good. Yeah. Really. Yeah. I would be surprised if he doesn't walk away with the Oscar. And there's about 10 movies coming out that are supposed to be really good that people are talking about. But Oscars love transformations. They love people who lose weight or gain weight. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Did you see Between Two Ferns on Netflix? No. Was that good? I laughed at a bunch of parts of it. I heard it was really funny. Yeah. But there's this one part where I think he says it to, I forget who, but he's like, who do you think's going to die from acting first? Like you or Christian Bale? And it just reminded me of that. But I don't, what the fuck is his back? Was his back always fucked up? No, I think he was just doing that. Like he was doing those, like he lost 50 pounds for the role, right? Jesus. So he was probably down like 150. He's like 6'1", right? He looked skeletal. Yeah, yeah. And all that stuff I think he was doing. But like I thought the movie was great when like you couldn't trust his narrative and you didn't know that till mid-movie. You're like, oh. Yeah, yeah. But he was incredible. And I really stand for Joaquin. I love all the fucking weird things he's done. I thought he was incredible in The Master. He's been up for a bunch of Academy Awards. He never won. Like he was up for Walk the Line. Yeah, he deserved one. This is what he did a great job in Gladiator too. Oh, fucking forget it. Forget it. Yeah. Talk about what are you like. There's like movies I will go back to watch and I can watch 100 times. Gladiator's up there. Yep. The Departed's up there. Yep. I could watch Blow forever. I've seen Blow. It once or twice. I like it, but I don't love it the way I love like The Departed or Gladiator. Yeah, we had this conversation in the office one day. Did we? Yeah. Yeah, I think it was just because Blow, for someone that used to push a lot of marijuana, but had left a big mark on me and also left a mark that like doesn't matter how good of a fucking person you are. Well, yeah, I think the walls will fall. This is that would be my cautionary tale to anyone. Every drug dealer I've ever met in my entire life, big ones to little ones, nobody thinks the fucking wall's gonna come in and it ends. Either you're fucking dead or you go to jail. There's no fucking, or you got the fuck out, which is really hard to do too. Like it never ends well. Mm-hmm. So people hate me for this, but I'll say one of, so people don't really hate me. One of my favorite gangster movies of all time is Belly. Have you seen the first Belly? Only the first Belly. I don't. I think there's a rapper in it, right? There's a few rappers in it, but it's actually a great movie, and it's one of my favorite gangster movies because it is the only gangster movie that ends in enlightenment.
Okay,
There's
well, I'm gonna. Is it on Netflix? Or do I have to buy it on Amazon?
It might be on Netflix.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Listen.
It's worth it.
Every gangster movie that came out in the late '90s, like
it is
King
good.
Of New, like with King of New York.
King of New York. Wait, that's DMX and Dave Arquette.
No.
That's Never Die Alone. Have you seen that?
No, the one I'm thinking of is Christopher Walken.
Oh yeah.
And Lawrence Fishburne.
Yep.
That one's
Christopher Walken's a stud back in the day, man.
Man, listen, no, so fucking good.
Yeah.
All those movies. So like Boys in the Hood,
Mm-hmm.
Menace to Society.
Yeah.
What's some other that came out of that?
The 90s.
That genre of like hip hop.
So do you like
Juice?
Do the right thing? Always do the right thing.
I love Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved all his shit. School Days is one of my favorite movies. I could sit and rewatch that movie and watch them do all the dances. I know all the songs. I used to try to learn it. I fucking love Spike.
Yeah.
I'm mad he didn't win for Malcolm X. I'm glad he won for Black Klansman. I thought that movie was incredible. But I love Spike. He says whatever. Listen.
Yeah.
The Inside Man. Have you seen that one?
Great.
Fucking incredible.
Oh yeah.
What a flex.
Yeah.
Denzel's
that was
incredible.
my mom being like, "You need to watch this."
Yes.
Yeah.
Denzel's incredible in it. The guy, I forget the British guy. He's also incredible in it. That's
Yeah, Denzel's had such a savage run of it all. Like
they did. This guy, this podcast, Bill Simmons podcast. You listen to him?
Sometimes.
I'm obsessed with him, and I'm obsessed with the rewatchables when they do. And I listen to his stuff a lot, and he had on Spike, and was like, just spent 2 hours talking bullshit with him. It was fucking great, and Spike was like really, and also had Denzel on, and Denzel's just like, once I do the role, I'm over it and done with it. Like I'm mad Denzel didn't win for Malcolm X. I thought that was the best performance, one of his best performances. But I'm glad he went for Training Day. Villains never win Academy Awards.
Yeah. And
he was so good in Training Day. I just went back and rewatched it.
Did you like fuck is that? Man on Fire?
Incredible. I think that was maybe one of my other, if I'm talking top 5 Denzel performances, that's like number 3.
Yeah.
Him when he's trying to teach her how to swim and just banging the blocks, right?
Yep.
And Mark Anthony, fucking huge flex. I'm obsessed with Mark Anthony. I love him. I'm obsessed with his music. I can't get enough of him. He's weighs 106 pounds. I don't know why I find him attractive. I know. He's not attractive, but there's something about him. Yeah. Maybe because he's got such a beautiful voice. Yeah. But I loved him in that. I thought he was great. But Denzel, I think Man on Fire is top 3 for me.
And then there's even ones like, what's the football one?
Remember the Titans. So good.
Fucking one of the greatest.
I love a sports movie. First of all, I love sports.
I know you do.
Every pre-meal is about.
Yeah.
Listen, teamwork. Sports show you what teamwork can be, and you're forced, especially like football, basketball, baseball. Those sports, maybe because I'm American, and those are those are the things I grew up in. My dad took me to baseball games all the time, Red Sox games, a father-daughter tradition. I've watched football my whole life. I used to be a gambling degenerate and, place all kinds of action on all the games. I don't watch it that much anymore. I watch the Pats, or I'll watch, but I love watching football, and I relate most to sporting events, and I do a lot of my pre-meals, but I love a sporting movie.
Did you ever play any sports?
I played field hockey, lacrosse, and basketball. I wasn't very good, but I played. Mm-hmm. You have to. I went to a fancy private school most of my life, and they require you to, this is.
Oh, really?
They require you to play 3 sports. 3 sports. You have to pick a sport, and then you have to play all 3 seasons.
Oh,
you don't get to opt out of it. They insist on it.
I mean, that's not bad. It's like.
I mean,
maybe it's probably guys probably enjoy that more than girls.
It depends. Some girl, when you're in rigorous schools like this, so you're in these private schools, and they're really rigorous, and the competition level is insane, right? And this is where these schools can be incredible because you get a huge leg up on your education. You're getting the best of the best, and you're getting access, right? That money lets you get access, right? But the social conditions in some of those things are brutal. If you don't look like everybody else, you are not part of the team. So like if you are not tiny and beautiful and, you know, perfectly manicured, you are on the outside of it, not on the inside of it. And those, you know, you're an outsider, and it's fucking hard when you're an outsider in high school. You know what it's like. It's fucking brutal, you know? And when you're not popular, that's a fucking, it's really hard to go through school and not be one of those people. That was hard. Yeah. You know, because I had a different background. Yeah, I didn't realize it at first. I was like, oh, everyone, you know, I didn't realize how rich those people were. And we had money at the time because when you sell drugs, a lot of them you can, you know, you have a lot of money. Yeah. But those social those are brutal. And like those people are very competitive, right? Like everyone's got a fucking eating disorder. it's the amount of eating disorders that were at my high school.
Traffic, you know, that's another one for movies that are like just blow you the fuck away.
That Topher Grace in that movie. And Michael Douglas, another absolutely fucking incredible. Another great movie. You're right, but that's what that's like. That's what those schools are like. That's fucking true. Everyone's doing drugs. Everyone's got a fucking eating disorder. If you don't have one, there's something wrong with you. Like if you're not actively trying to not eat any food. Yeah. Which is a really fucking horrible way to live.
Yeah. I know. I always feel like, obviously, like in America, specifically America, but really everywhere, like sports is like such a huge thing. And I always felt a little bit out of place with that. Not because I don't like sports. I love sports and I'm very athletic.
Did you play sports?
Here's the thing. My dad came over from the Philippines. He never played sports. So growing up, I never had any direct family influences that were big into sports. Now, I played soccer and around the time middle school, but then my brother and I also grew up with bad asthma. Like my dad at one point in time in his childhood was had to stay home from school for like 6 months because of how bad his asthma is. My brother had the worst asthma case in the United States. They had to paralyze him chemically for 9 days once in like the Hartford's Children's Hospital because his asthma was so bad. I was the learning case for the child with asthma. So when I was really young, I remember being like, these kids don't know how fucking easy they have it. I'm like, I wish I would stop playing sports because I just got tired. These fucking pussies. Like, I can't fucking breathe. That's why I'm not doing it. And then right around middle school, we were in such a bad financial spot, like with money. Like, not only was there no way I was getting any rides to any sporting events or couldn't afford any of it, I had 2 paper outs at 12 years old. I had been hustling anything I could hustle up until 12. And then at 12, I was like, finally, I can get a job. And I had 2 paper outs by the time I was 12. I ran my own snow shoveling business. And I went, and there's this crazy guy that had his house, was his whole yard, old man, filled with lawnmowers, old, new, broken, wheels, this. I knocked on his door one day after I'd saved up some money from the fucking paper out, and I was like, listen, bro, I'm like trying to start a business. Imagine the 12-year-old knocking on your door, like trying to start a business. Like, can I buy a rider mower? I bought a rider mower off of him and a weed whacker, and I rode it 2 miles back to my house, and then I started a business, and I had 7 yards that I would weekly do all of it. So I basically had a full-time job between like 12 until everything
no sports
else.
For you then.
There was no sports. So martial arts, but I could do martial arts. So
I've always wanted to take boxing. And you said
I boxed a little bit at UMass, but I grew up doing like mixed martial arts, a few different kinds. I actually I was so young, so it doesn't technically count. But at one point in time, I was champion in Connecticut. I had a purple belt in like 5 different disciplines, and the trophy was damn near bigger than me when I won it. So, I mean, I was really little.
And which out of mixed martial arts, which is your favorite? Which do you enjoy the most?
I mean, now I just started jiu-jitsu, so I love that. But I always loved striking. So, like the kind of like Muay Thai's type of striking. But the ones that I learned, the dojo I went to when I was younger had like karate, aikido, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo. It was like multi martial arts, and you learn them all together. So my katas weren't just one kind. I was learning how to throw people, and I was learning how to punch people in the face, and I was learning how to twist their wrists so that like I got like an access point. But so I would have loved to, like, I was a great, like, I could shoot in basketball. I would have been a great point guard, but my asthma wasn't there yet, and I needed a full-time fucking job. And I used to love football, so like we would do these savage pickup games in the neighborhood where like every Thanksgiving morning you'd have the hardest hitters of the surrounding towns show up in Green Manor in Enfield, Connecticut, and play full tackle, no pads, just. And I loved it, but I just couldn't.
Aren't you glad now knowing the
for
concussion?
Sure. And I'd let
crisis?
and I'll be adamant about this. Like, I'll let my kid do whatever the fuck they want, but they're not gonna play football.
So this is crazy. I've asked my friends about this because a bunch of my friends' kids, like I'm my friend group, I'm the only one without kids, and I don't want them. And I think they think I'm crazy, but I don't. But their kids play hockey. I'm like, are you guys fucking crazy?
That's a lot of it too. Yeah.
So another really, really good friend of mine. We were talking about football, and there's only one insurance company in the country that insures the NFL. Nobody else will do it because of the concussion crisis. And at some point, when do they stop? And if the NFL can't get insured, the NFL doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean,
You saw that movie too, Will Smith?
No, I didn't see it, but I watched the 60 Minutes really documentary on it, and I was like,
you'd like. It's a good movie too. I think you'd like the movie.
His career, he really fucking tanked it, huh? I mean, I guess he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't care anymore.
I mean, I'm going to, what's it called? Bad Boys 3. Fuck me up. Take my money, Will Smith, and fucking what's his name? I'm in on that because I just rewatched Bad Boys for the first time. I was like,
yeah.
God, this is good. This really still slaps.
Yeah. But otherwise, aside from the Bad Boys, what was like the last really? I mean, I think it was right around after the one where he did the guy that could do the Rubik's Cube and couldn't get the fucking job selling printers. What was that?
Something in
Pursuit of Happiness.
That was garbage.
Yeah, and then what did he do? What else?
Wild Wild West killed his career.
Yeah, there
he did
go.
Men in Black. He was fucking incredible. Men in Black 2 was super fun.
Owen Wilson's nose killed that motherfucker's career.
And fucking you did Wild Wild West, and it was fucking a dumpster fire, and then you haven't had a hit since. He doesn't need a hit. He's worth fucking $100 million. His kids are now being, singers and whatever.
Yeah. The next generation is taking
and his
over.
wife's, they have plenty of. He doesn't need a hit, but he starred in that dumb movie Gemini. Jose said it was fucking horrible.
I didn't see it.
It's by Ang Lee. I was like, how bad could it be? It's like, but it got bad reviews.
That's what happens when you spend so much money on the production of something. Mm-hmm. It'll take away sometimes from the actual story. Not always, but it can.
What are you most excited to see? What movie that's coming out?
There's a few that I saw in the theater. I don't really remember all. I don't pay too much attention to the ones that are coming out. Like, I hear about them and then I'll look in. Like, I was really excited to see Joker, and I saw Joker. I don't know why. Remind me of
There's
some.
Ford and Ferrari coming out with Matt Damon and Christian Bale. So
okay.
I
haven't seen the trailer or anything from that.
Do yourself a favor, watch it. Take all my money. Take it all. So have it all. It's about how Ford wanted to beat Ferrari in like that huge race.
Okay,
and
word.
Christian Bale's the driver, and Matt Damon's like the guy who's funding it, and I'm in, right?
Okay, word.
I'm in for anything Christian Bale does. I think he's fucking incredible.
Agreed.
I'm obsessed. I think he's my favorite actor. Him, Fassbender, and then there's probably 10 others I enjoy, but Michael Fassbender and Christian Bale I think are fucking incredible. There's the one it's called The Two Popes. It's with Anthony Hopkins and then what's his name? Jonathan Pryce as two popes.
Okay.
One's leaving and one's taking over.
All right.
And everyone's freaking the fuck out about that. There's one by Terrence Malick about this.
See, you got them all.
I watch a lot of movie trailers. So like sometimes at work when I have to get myself motivated,
you watch a movie trailer?
I will I'll drag somebody in the office with me and I'll be like, let's watch this trailer.
Yeah.
I love them though. Like it's part of going to the movies is like that fun part about you're not, what are you going to see and what are you not going to see? Mm-hmm. And I just like movies so much. I'm like, if I could rewrite my life again, I would like go to school for like music production, like scoring films.
Yeah,
You can score them two ways. You can, because they take all the sound out, so you can like build in like traffic sounds and like that shit, or you can like score it with music.
Yeah, and music.
I've
been
That would
paying
be
so much more attention to all of that. I mean, my next step is a nicer camera that I can make short films with.
Yeah, I mean, the soundtracks on these shows too, and like these movies, I like literally Shazam it. I'm always like Shazamming music as I walk around.
Me too.
I'm just like, oh, what's this? This is new, or you know.
And how exciting is that when a show makes you be like, fuck, my phone is not close enough to get to the Shazam right away.
I mean, they've gotten smarter. They like Euphoria has the Spotify playlist. Like most of these shows that are really dope will have a Spotify. I mean, whoever thought of Spotify is a fucking genius.
Yeah, I need to just convert.
It fucks the artists sometimes because I know they
definitely does.
It really fucks them, but like, there's got to be a better way to get them more money.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yeah, there definitely is too. There's a great podcast. Actually, it was one I liked a lot recently. Joe Rogan and the dude from the Black Keys. Both the dudes from the Black Keys. But it is a fucking great, and the whole thing is basically about the music industry.
I mean, the music industry you've got these incredible artists and just spits them out, chews them up and spits them out.
I mean, if there are people that like would be multi-platinum 20 years ago that don't make a fucking hardly a dime.
Don't make a fucking dime. I mean, how do they make money? Touring, right? That's it.
Yeah,
touring.
Basically. So like you'd be better off being a good stand-up comic. Like you'd make just as much, if not more. Yeah,
and think about how much music means to us. I haven't been to a show in I think the last show I went to was the Newport Folk Festival, which, by the way, do yourself a favor. The Newport Folk Festival.
Okay.
My friend moved down there and she was like, I got free tickets for my other friend. You need to come. And I was like, fuck it, let's go. It was Dolly Parton showed up.
Right.
Sheryl Crow showed up.
Really?
I saw Hozier for the second time, who was really something else. He's really giving it to us. But it was just all these great little funky bands, and it was awesome. And like people I knew were randomly there, and it's on the water. So if you have a boat, you don't have to buy tickets.
Oh, that's dope.
So next year we're just going to tie a bunch of kayaks with some beer in it and just go do that, because you can hear the music. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's out on this like a rock, and you're just like, you bring chairs, people set up, and you just hang out all day and drink beer, and it's just so magical. But that's the last show I've been to, and usually I go to a show like once a month.
Yeah.
Which is like
depressing.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been to many recently either. I mean, I'm also in a spot where like, and let me give a shout out to Jose really quick. Jose knows where I'm at in my life with what I'm trying to do and financially. That motherfucker hit me up and was like, hey, I got a ticket to go to Wu-Tang. You want to go? And I'm like, I can't really go right now. I don't really like have the money to like be going to like shows or anything like that. He's like, no, I already got you a ticket. He's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, how much is the ticket? He's like, don't worry about it. Do you want to go? And I'm like, well, I have Wu-Tang tattooed on my wrist. I'm not gonna say no. Like,
he's
I'm like, absolute, yeah, I will fucking go to Wu-Tang.
He's an absolute legend, and you know, that's when you pay it forward to people. Every year he's taken me, he gets free tickets to Boston Calling. Yeah. And I've gone like 3 years in a row.
Yeah, he hooked it up this year too. We had a great time.
My God, who did we see? That was one of the funnest nights.
Yeah, and it was such a good time.
And like he always includes me, and it's just really nice because he knows how much I like to go to shows. And you know, we took Pam to the David Byrne show, you know, Talking Heads, and that was the last show I saw. That was absolute. David Byrne was incredible. He didn't even wear shoes. It was fucking incredible.
Rock star. That's
a real rock star. And everybody, it was incredible. But you know, I just love going to shows. My friend Jessamine she has like a list of like everybody who's playing all over the city, and she's like, "Do you want to do this one? That's one." She's been working so much. I was like, we haven't got to any shows. Like, we'll go to Brighton Music Hall to hear some weird musician. Or And I'm just, my other friend Jess is like that too. She'll be like, I'm going to this, or I'm going here, or we're going to this concert. And it really changes your life.
Is that one of them that used to work at the restaurant?
Yes, Jess, my friend Jessamine, yes. And I miss going to more shows. I just texted her the other day. I was like, we haven't been to any shows. What's going on here? I'm getting antsy, and I really have no business doing anything because I'm going to be jobless soon. I have no business.
Yeah, but then like it makes you pay attention to money and things like that a little bit more, and you get to the point where it's like maybe going without one facial cream and going to 2 shows this month is the trade?
You know, I've definitely been cash strapped before. This is the first time I haven't been cash strapped, probably. You know, I mean, I get paid well and I am not cash strapped. I spend a lot of money on things because I like things, and I'm not willing to like not do stuff if I want to do it. What's the point of working? You can't take the money with you.
Yeah, when
like
you
I don't
die.
want to be 60 and broke, but I also am not interested in not doing anything.
Yeah,
right? If I want to see the
agree.
fucking world, and I'll rein it in. I can eat rice pilaf and fucking broccoli. I don't give a fuck. I also have like a lot of friends who will be like the other night we went to go out. My friend was like, "You're not paying for anything. You're about to be jobless. I've got it." And I'm like, "Oh, this is nice. Yeah, I forgot." I can also like, I've got access to a bunch of shit too. Like I can be like, Chase, steward me 3 cases of wine so I don't have to go out, you know?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, a smart way to operate. I'm
For
not
sure.
going to not give up drinking, but I don't need to go to Corner Tavern and fucking throw my fucking credit card across the bar and be like, fuck me up.
Yeah.
You know, there's millions of ways to operate. Like if you want to go out with people, you can drink at your house first and then go and have like 2 drinks somewhere instead of 62. And also not working in a restaurant is going to change that operation. Except I have a lot of busy fucking friends that are always like, I'm doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I have to remind myself, like, you're not. That's why I'm getting on a fucking plane.
Which isn't bad either, you know. It's not
it's
bad
great.
to not do. It's good to have people that when you want to do stuff, they're doing stuff. So you don't always need to be alone. And it's also not bad to not go and need to be doing something every weekend. You know?
It is, and I have usually had a really good balance of being like lighting myself on fire in a really awesome way, doing wild things, and then also being able to like sit at home and drink wine and relax and like turn off and watch TV. And this last month I haven't been able to. I've just been like in a death spiral.
Yeah.
That's okay. At least I know it. Some motherfuckers just like a couple of people we know are in a fucking death spiral right now and they cannot get out of it. I can't even help them out of it.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm looking at it being like, I want to throw you a lifeline. Just ask me for it, but you're in a fucking death spiral and this is going to end so fucking badly for you and you can't even see it. So, you know, I guess I'm happy.
Sometimes I think that they completely fucking can too. And it's just,
I would listen. There's a term called Pareto Optima. It's the best route. So people so you start at A and you end at Z. Some people at D know there's a fuck up and need to go back to A and will not. They will continue down to Z, realize it's totally fucked up, and then have to start again. It's like when people are in relationships and they get fucking married and you're like, you know, like you're around them, you're like, these fucking people hate each other. Like this is not a fun relationship. You don't even want to be around this couple. Do you know, there's, you're like, why are you getting married? You fucking hate each other, right? You guys fight all the time. It's fucking awful. None of us like to be around you. They get engaged. They continue on. Guess what? Six, you know, my friend's about to go through a divorce right now. I'm like, you know, Pareto Optima.
I like that. I'll be using that.
I learned it I took a class on vice presidents, and this lady was a fucking assassin of a professor, and that was one of the things she taught me. People will not stop at D, even when they know it's fucked up. Some people will. They'll be like, this is fucked up. We have to start again. Yeah. But most people will just continue.
And that's a nice way to explain the whole, like, when people are like, listen, I had to take, like, and that's where I'm at. I had to take like many steps back in order to take one fucking forward again.
Nothing's linear. This is the lie that everyone tells. This is when I decided I was going to quit my job, and everyone's like, you don't have one yet. I was like, nope. They're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to live till I'm 80. I can have 3 fucking careers at this point. I can do whatever the fuck. Will it be hard?
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be. Well, I might make less money. Maybe not. Maybe I'm going to start a gig economy bullshit that's for, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But being unhappy is not the fucking answer.
Yeah.
And being in a job that doesn't have
being in anything
that doesn't, like Marie Kondo says, does it spark joy? If it doesn't, get it the fuck out. Whether it's your job, whether it's your partner, whether it's your fucking living situation. You know, we are lucky. We have access. I feel lucky. I've been in this business a long time. So if tomorrow I leave, you know, when I leave, I want to go bartend somewhere or serve, guess what? I can get hired anywhere I want. I make a pile of cash, have no responsibilities, and reset my whole fucking life. Maybe go back to school. I don't know. I'm lucky. I can do that. I have that skill set that I can lean on. And I don't feel bad about it. Like, I'm not going to feel like embarrassment. Like I don't
And you
answer.
shouldn't.
I don't answer to anyone. I don't have to.
Yeah. You
know,
shouldn't at all.
I don't. And I'm like, you know, I don't answer to anyone. I don't fucking answer to you. I answer to me. And I'm going to do things that make me happy. And, you know, who knows how long that will last. You know, I'm a busy bitch and I like to always, you know, I like to be in charge of things. So that I'm sure at some point that characteristics come out, but that's kind of why I want to get on a fucking plane after this. I need some away time from everyone being like, what are you going to do? Or what's going to happen? Or bop, 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 bop. So.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you need to make some dramatic changes in order for a bunch of other little things to fall into place too. It's like if you don't, you can have a goal that you want to align yourself with and something that you want to run towards. And in a year, in a month, in 5 years, that goal may dramatically change, but it's only changing because you decided to run towards something. So now you know what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. Right. So maybe you shift the goal and it changes and you do decide to go back to school, or you do decide to do something else. And maybe things aren't completely aligned yet, but it should be, you know, just knowing what not to aim at anymore is enough.
Correct. And you know what? I you know, I don't believe in the secret and all that bullshit, but honestly, sometimes you got to put something out in the universe. Yeah. And all the things I've ever wanted when I got them was because I took a fucking leap. And I'm like, you know what? Take another one. And also, you're gonna hear that this is a real fucking crazy thing. The amount of people I've told that I've quit my job and have been like, congratulations I was like, Jesus. So I'm like, either I was very unhappy and everyone was like, thank God she saw it. Or people realize like, yeah, sometimes you have to quit your fucking job. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you have to take a fucking dirty mass bomb and blow your fucking life up.
And you know, a lot of people will keep you from giving you the advice to blow your life up. But those are the same people that just say, but when it comes to fucking everything that they want to do. I'd really love to do this, but. And everyone is always there to some extent. Everyone's always got a few butts in place, but you'll know the butts that like really
there hasn't
hold
been a person,
back,
you know, my friend Mike was like, you know, start looking for a job no matter what. It takes a while to get hired. He's right. So like, you know what? Tuesday morning, my day off, I'm going to start perusing. My resume's up to date. You know, I went on one interview for a really nice, reputable company that needs like director of ops. And they were like, well, what if we started you as a floor manager? And I was like, no. Yeah. If you don't know what you have in front of you and you want to undervalue me at that point, Kobe didn't take less money and I'm not either. Good. Sorry. Yep. Naomi Campbell didn't get out of bed for under $10,000 and I fucking ain't either. Yeah. Or I'll find my own way.
And that's good. I mean, you can't have women tend. I mean, I think one of the bigger reasons why there's such a big difference in the wage gap is because by nature women tend to be more agreeable. You're not a more agreeable woman. No. You know, so you'll know your worth and you'll make sure that you get it, or you'll get more, or you'll negotiate more for it.
You have to. You're never going to get paid fucking more if you don't ask. You're never going to, nobody's going to buy your stock if you're sitting there being like, you know, and I was like,
I should have to prove myself again.
A fucking floor manager. Yeah. I'm running a better restaurant than get the fuck out of here. Look at me. And I was like, I don't think so, but definitely the interview shifted there. Yeah. You know, like with this like really lovely talk and like, but like when I'm interviewing this, I've been in your restaurant.
You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you.
I've been in your restaurant. You don't have anyone that can do what I can do. So don't tell me you're putting me you want me to be a fucking floor manager and take fucking direction from fucking bibbity boppity boo, whatever this asshole's doing in his bad suit and his bad hair and his bad decision making. You know? Yeah. I'm sorry, I can see the chessboard. I don't think so.
I feel you. And I think everything will work out. I think
or it won't.
But no. I think it will. I mean, like you were saying before, is it going to be hard? Yeah. Has there ever been anything in life at all that was ever actually worth it that wasn't hard? Even if it means that you go back to an extremely similar position and similar situation, what you gain from that is priceless.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there is going to be an opportunity that opens up, and that opportunity will be the right thing, and it'll be the right fit for me, and I'll feel great about it. You know, I am going to stay in hospitality somehow. I just don't know what that is. I just think floor managing is it's a young girl's game. Yeah. And, you know, at this point I could close my eyes and do it blind without, and be better at it than most people. So I'm like, that means you're not being challenged anymore. Yeah. Right?
Yep. Good point.
You know, if you're not being challenged like that, you know, it's just not fun anymore. And if it's not, you know, this part of being in this hospitality industry is like how fun it can be, right? Like I've met some of my closest friends as servers. I've met my closest friends as like guests. I've had some of the wildest shifts I've ever had. And like, I have never laughed so much and seen some like insane I mean, I had my head split open in a bar by 2 regulars. They knocked me on the ground. Really? Staples in my head.
Jesus Christ.
Try to break up a fucking fight. It's insane. I've seen the things I've seen, the amount of shit. It's like I have no idea why people do this. They get their notifications and it pushes on their phone, right? I don't want anyone to see I got a text message. I don't want anyone to see I don't want any push notifications. I hate them. Because one time I was like charging this guy's phone and the fucking nudes he was getting from this girl. I was like, but like his phone was closed. Like because it was like a push notification. It was just, I was like, remind me never to do that again. Let's turn those all the fuck off.
Like mine are on, but there's no preview. So no, and if I'm with someone, like my phone is like face down.
Correct.
If it's even out. And like that's one of the more valuable things that I taught my little sister at a young age. Like we were sitting down watching a movie and my phone was face down, but it was like on the couch in front of us, and like to the point where if it went off like it or vibrated or lit up, you could still see the light coming from it. We're watching a movie together and it goes off and she looks at my phone, my eyes don't leave the screen, and she looks at me and she looks at my phone and my eyes don't leave the screen, and then I look at her and then I look back at the screen. Right. All right, let's try to teach them at a young age what's more important here. Okay, what am I doing right now? Am I on my phone or am I watching a movie with my little sister? Right. Same deal in any conversation.
Absolutely. Like it's like sometimes I go with my friends and like they're on their, you know, like if they have kids, they have to look at their phones. I get it. And I'm just like, can we just put our phones down? Like maybe put them in our fucking bags. Like when I took out Pam, Jose, and Anthony and Britt to tell them about this, I told them on Wednesday so they didn't get surprised on Friday. And the owners knew, like Brian was like, good, let's do this now. Because like a couple of my friends that are friends with them knew, who don't work in the restaurant anymore. And I was like, you don't have, they wanted me to wait till December 1st. I was like, you don't have that fucking window and we're not dictating. That's not how this works. Yeah. I'm not going to tell these guys in December 1st, you're going to have people splitting in half. Yeah. So I took them out. I was like, put your phones away. This isn't, you know, I need you to I don't want you to tell anyone, first off. And 2, I need you to put your phones away. Yeah. Because we need to talk and we need to hear it. And, you know, we need to put our phones away more.
For sure.
You know, like, I mean, turn it off. I'm not that we're not the president. We're not that fucking busy. What? Yeah. Jimmy Jack Joe's going to tell me about their fucking...
What is more attractive than someone that is that well accomplished, whether it's the president or anyone else in a really high seat, that gives you the attention that you deserve for the moments that you have in front of them.
Correct.
I mean, we were talking about communication before, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. One of the things that I love the most about this podcast is for out of the 21 now that I've done, I'd say 18 of the people, I'm the only person that they've sat down with no distractions and had a sincere, I'm interested in what you have to say, you're interested in what I have to say, and we're going to talk about whatever the fuck we want for over an hour. That's happened within the last year, arguably even more than years. Like even some of their best friends with no distractions that long, it doesn't really happen.
It doesn't.
You know,
doesn't.
Like I go out of my way to pump the heat. You notice it's colder in here now. Yes. That's because I pumped the heat before you came so that fucking air isn't running and getting into the audio of the mics while we're doing it. So like it's strictly like anything I could do. You came in here. It was already recording, right? I noticed that even people that I'm very close with, the second I need to hit record and move the screens back, like even people that are very comfortable with me suddenly are like, oh yeah, there's lights now. And then there's cameras now. I do everything I can to make it as much of like normal interaction as possible. And then no agenda. Like, let's just talk.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way people connect, right? That's how you learn about people. You learn about yourself, your emotional.
Jesus. And then I need to watch myself over and over and over.
That's gonna be hard.
This shit. Yeah.
That's gonna be hard.
There's things that I nitpick about myself on a different level. But here's the difference, and here's what I love. Like my brother painted this. This is my roommate, actually, and he did this a long time ago, right? When you see that, you could appreciate it for whatever it is and whatever it isn't. But when Al looks at that and he picks himself apart about how he used, because this was many years ago that I did this, how he used to do certain shading or certain coloring or certain anything. When you see Al's next painting, you might notice that it's much better, but Al doesn't get to use the painting to actually tell you, I fucked up X, Y, and Z. And that's something that I like about the podcast, because everything that I either didn't like about what I said or how I said it or how I replied or I should have been listening better or anything, I could just bring it up in the next podcast. And it's like, there,
Yay.
I'm cleared.
And how's the editing process go? What does that entail? It's long hours.
Yeah. So
it's hard to watch yourself. I've been on tape before and for Phantom Gourmet.
But you know what? And I know it'll happen with this one too. Like you see me post on my story, I'm dying laughing most of the time. So right. I know I'm at a good point now, and I know that I'm not. I don't represent myself to anybody in what I'm not. And I know deep down, the second that I'm starting to do it, it's like I get the same feeling that you get when you're younger, when you're like nervous to talk to someone or you're about to do something you shouldn't do. Like I know, like, oh, that's ego. You're blind. I don't really do that anymore. So when I'm editing, most of the time I'm having a great time. It's more just the labor of doing it. So. Right. First, I take all the audio because that's a separate one. This is a separate one. Then I edit them. Then I put them together. Then I take 3. These are probably going to be like all about 9 gigs worth of video in each one.
I didn't even see by the way, the level of obtuseness I didn't even notice the other cameras. I just saw this one. I was like, well, it's not really pointing at me. So
yeah. I take the 3 and then it's 3 stretches of video. So Johna, Samson, both of us, and then I match the audio with all the 3 videos so that they're all lined up. And then I start it, and then it's Johna's talking. Enable 1, disable 2 and 3. Cut audio. Next one. Okay, now I'm talking. Enable 2, disable 1 and 3. Oh, now wait, hang on. The way Johna's listening is more important than the way I'm talking. Show Johna. Quick, cut back, enable, disable. And I do that. I'll show you what one looks like before you leave. And it just looks like this fucking chop gallery. And then I highlight as I go now. So I use different colors to highlight. Yellow, that was a funny part. Make sure you go back to that and use that for content later on. Purple, that is a deep conversation part. Go back to that. Green, that is anything that's going to tell Johna's story so I can make a quick thing about her. It's gotten much better. I'm sure I'm still doing things that I could be doing much better, but
it's work in progress. Writers,
if you look at the first one that I ever did compared to how this one will look, I mean, probably pun intended with the lighting, but night and day difference. I mean, the audio and the video, and that's what I wanted. Like, if it's not good enough now, then when will it ever fucking be good enough? So let everybody see that the difference between episode 1 and episode 21 is night and day, and I'm getting better at it.
And all those guys who podcast, like, Bill Simmons was talking about like his first, he just finished like 500 or something. He was like, oh my God, I listened to my first one. It was like, stepping on the person and, and the best podcasts, it's like talk radio. You're like, what the fuck? What are we going to talk about? Let's get in. Let's do it. This is why I love these rewatchable ones about movies. Cause I'm like, really feeling it. This is exactly how I felt they did Shawshank. And I was like, oh really? God.
I got to get into that too then.
You'll really like the rewatch. If you're a movie person, you will really like the rewatchables.
Okay.
Because it's just a bunch of people who love movies, who are all in on movies, who have seen a ton of movies,
Yeah.
who know about like these are people who like fucking know.
Yeah.
Right? They know about shit and they're just go on a dig. And they have like categories like, you know, most rewatchable scene, who's overacting, you know, what, you know, like
Who's overacting?
they have like awards, you know, it's really funny. And like, I'm like, oh, you're right. This person was overacting, or this is the most, like they, you know, they'll
Yeah.
just do like 10 scenes. And it's just really, really enjoyable to listen to because I'm such a movie person. And,
Yeah.
you know, not that many people in my life are that, you know, there are, it's funny. Like I've managed to hire and surround myself with like artists and people who are really into the same shit I am. And maybe that's for good,
No,
for better
I
or
mean-
for worse. For better or for worse, if I'm going to spend 9 hours a day with somebody, I at least want to hear what they have to fucking say about a movie or a show. Sorry.
And not at all. So I've, at this point in time in my career, I've successfully hired and trained and onboarded, like I think it's at 22 interns now, and other people that weren't interns, like so more than 20. And there's never been anyone that I haven't asked the question. I tell them, like, okay, John, so I interview a little bit differently. I like to like break the ice. Before we get into your resume or talk about anything related to the job, I always ask everyone, please tell me, and doesn't need to be your top 3, but 3 of your favorite artists and why. And when I say artists, I mean anybody that creates. So I would take an entrepreneur as an artist. I would take an actor as an artist. I would take a painter, a singer, a musician. Okay, go. And normally I'm hiring for sales. So I'm asking for a few reasons. One, can I show that there is Tourage in any of these people, meaning we have already share some mutual love, values, morals, interests that we share already. So the walls in communications drop down right away. It's like building rapport without needing to build it, you know, because they already love or like something that I'm already interested in. If you name that line in that book that I love as well and stood out to me, we're going to be able to work together.
I mean, I interview people and I usually set a few bear traps. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the most challenging thing that ever happened in the restaurant and how did you react? You're going to say either three things like, oh, it was difficult and I got my manager. That's the right answer. Whether or you're going to be like, well, you know, I didn't have it. And then my manager wasn't very good. You know, the moment you start shit talking, you've shown me a side of you that's not going to work for our culture.
Okay, gotcha.
We all talk shit. It's not, we don't do it in interviews.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What are your 3 favorite artists right now?
Right now, I mean, like I brought up Jordan Peterson before, and that really just comes down to like there are changes in my life that I'm trying to make that I feel like he stands for. There's book 12 rules for life, and like one of those rules being like treat yourself like you're somebody worth helping. And you know, there are things about what he brings out of males in today's society right now that I think all males need a little bit of a push and a little bit of like encouragement. And I'm just trying to like better myself. And I just think he's top of the line in a different lifetime, I would have been a great psychiatrist. And I actually was mad I didn't go and get my master's in it. And I stuck with it. I knew back then I should have done it and I didn't. And because I never got to, and I don't have the money to go and do it now, looks like I'm still finding some type of way to get what I can out of it. You know what I mean? Even if it's for myself in conversations. But I love him. Actually lately I've been really big into jazz. So, which
like
there's this one.
It's just brew jazz? Like what do you mean jazz? Like Miles Davis?
No, specifically there's one band called No Made Orchestra. I'll show you some of their music after, but it's like orchestra, jazz. Like it's not jazz. That's kind of a hard one to explain actually, because it's not like any jazz that you think with in the elevator or any other stereotype for jazz that comes to it.
Jazz? What? Okay.
Yeah, right now that No Made Orchestra has been on repeat for me, but just recently that'll change. Like. Because I listen to hip hop regularly at the gym. Like hip hop is my lifeline for music. I love all music, but depending on the day, I will like something way more than I'll like something else. What's one of yours?
Right now, I've been obsessed with John Mayer. but the stuff he's been doing lately is like really, he's got a whole new album and it's like really fucking awesome.
Did it just come out?
Yeah, it came out like a couple weeks ago. He's like dropped a couple songs.
I actually really love John Mayer.
I love John Mayer. I love his ability to pivot and change his music. He's an incredible artist. Like he's like arguably one of the greatest guitarists in the world.
Have you seen him with the Dead?
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't even fucking like the Grateful Dead, and I was like, I'm dead. He's incredible. I went with Jose.
Yeah.
Another fucking, I think it's me, Jose, Pam, and Jose, Pam's sister. We all was awesome. He's making me crazy right now. Hosier's making me crazy right now. He's really good. And then then there's like a million artists I'm listening to. Like I just hear a song and I dump it on.
Yeah.
Like I really like SZA. Every song is so beautiful. And, those are the things. I just like dump like 30 songs. I've also been re-listening to old Bruce Springsteen, which I'll tell you what.
Is what it is.
It's fucking great. I go ahead and listen to I'm on Fire. You're going to be like, Jesus, this is a really incredible song.
Yeah. See, music's a hard one.
It's hard. There's so many artists.
When I interview people and people bring up musicians, it's more like, all right, is there one that they talk about that I know as well? Because that's really more just like once I know them as well, then I can relate. That's hard to explain. Like if I also told you right now how much I've been feeling the whole Griselda rap gang, like, and you're probably not too familiar with rap, but right now Griselda's fucking up the game, which is these three dudes, Benny the Butcher, Conway, and West Side Gun, right? And they are so gangster, and they are changing the game. Like they're the Wu-Tang of, even though there's only three of them, they're the Wu-Tang of right now. No one in the rap game will fuck with them in like a diss them kind of way, and everyone wants to track with them. They're putting out, and I also love them because they're all like 35. That's not
fucking awesome.
Which
right?
Like for rappers to get going and really make a dent at like mid 30s, early 40s is just kind of unheard of.
It's insane.
And they don't have choruses in any of their songs. It is just straight verses of fucking gangster rap.
I mean,
and I love that. I need that right now.
We need a little bit of gangster rap comeback. Sometimes I hear stuff and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Although, guess what I listened to all day yesterday?
What?
Kanye's new album.
How'd you like it?
Fucking incredible.
Listen,
this motherfucker, I saw him.
You like it more than the last one?
So if we're gonna order things. I think his first album, which is Late Registration, or is it College Dropout?
College Dropout.
Listening to College Dropout again at work 2 days ago, I was like, this fucking album's College Dropout.
I loved him back then. I still do.
808s and Heartbreaks. Go back and listen. He changes his whole vocal tone.
My deep, dark fucking fantasy.
Deep, dark fantasy. Life of Pablo's very, very good.
Yeah.
There are songs on there that I'm like, wow. This one is just... I mean, I've been really loving the Sunday service stuff in general.
I like the Sunday service stuff too. I'd love to go to one.
Me too. By the way, everyone at Coachella was like, Coachella sucked. The only thing that was good was his Sunday service. Everybody went to that. Right.
Is that when he parted the seas?
Basically. I mean, Kanye, I've always been obsessed with him. When the Trump stuff started happening, I'm like, well, he's gone insane. Mm-hmm. Turns out he is insane. He went on David Letterman and he's like, yeah, I'm bipolar and manic depressive. When I'm spiraling, this is what happens. He was the most honest. After you watch that interview, David Letterman interviews on Netflix are incredible. Mm-hmm. He did Jay-Z. Jay-Z was like, yeah.
I gotta watch that one.
He was like, I fucked up on my wife, and David Letterman was like, so did I. And we gotta and he was like, and she's forgiven me. And I was like, this is
that's next level.
That's next level for both of them. That's like to have the whole world know that you fucked. You went behind Beyonce's back.
Oh, I know.
The Beehive.
Right? I know.
Becky with the good hair. I mean, those interviews are great. Kanye was great on that. And
Becky just became a culturally accepted term for
Becky,
fucking
for a side piece.
Yeah, like a
Becky with the good hair.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just love everything he does. Everything is different. He sounds different. Everybody ends up wanting to copy him. Like, who makes auto-tune sound fucking so dope except Kanye, right? Which rapper started to sing on their songs before Kanye did? Kanye was the first one to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna sing a little bit.
Yeah.
Him and Eminem, that's it.
His colored polos. He was wearing colored polos before all these guys in boat shoes were wearing colored polos.
It's everything he's done culturally, even the crazy shit with Taylor Swift, and then he wrote a song for her. Like, who else does shit like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've never fallen off of the Kanye
Me either.
because I was always on it, and I always knew he was a producer first and a fucking extremely talented one before.
His level of production is nobody can get near it. I mean, I also, Jay-Z's last album was incredible. Every song on it was like a piece of culture that the people needed to hear. I'm sad he didn't win a Grammy, and I'm glad what's his name won because he deserved it.
Who won?
What's his name? Kendrick.
Okay. Was that Damn, right?
I think so.
So that was 2017.
Yeah.
So I went back through Damn again because I used to say I kind of thought that Rhapsody should have won rap album that year, but now going back through Damn again, I'm like, maybe not.
You know whose album's really good and really different? Tyler, the Creator's. Have you heard it?
The Igor one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't really my thing.
It's very different than what he's used to doing. I'm also so obsessed with Frank Ocean, and he won't tour.
I love Frank Ocean.
I think he's got a new song. We're hoping he's going to drop an album. He just dropped like a whole video of him DJing and another new song, which is incredible. But Agent Orange is like a perfect album.
Yeah.
Find me one fucking out of place song in the wrong order. You can't. He does a 9-minute song about a stripper in Africa. The fuck? It starts in Africa, then it goes to being.
His voice is just beautiful.
It's beautiful, and then this new album, there's like, it's like the one last time, was it Pink and White, whatever, or Blonde? Sorry, Blonde.
Yeah.
Another.
Yeah.
And just the things he's doing, I'm just like,
yeah.
I'm in. I'm all in.
Yep.
That's the kind of music I like. Stuff that makes me want to.
For sure.
Makes you either want to cry or.
I've said you might like. I'll send you a few new artists that I've been going through recently as well. I stumbled upon a few that I like, but they're kind of more like I finally got back into like being consistent with my playlist, and like a lot of the time my playlists I'm making, the main ones I'm making are like for the gym, so it could. But I'm putting music that isn't always gym music. My gym playlist is really like the things that I like right now, and then I sift through that and I throw them in different directions.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Spotify's algorithms.
I have iTunes, and I had, by the time I was like, bro, you just need to get Spotify, was also the time that was like, okay, all of your accounts are starting to really add up now every month.
Well,
So
that's
I
the other
just
crazy
need to
thing. Think about all the shit that like makes our life easy, and I haven't budgeted, so like I probably have to sit down next week and be like, what are you gonna get rid of?
Yeah.
What can you share? Like Emily lives above me. I'm like, okay, her and I share HBO and we share
That's
Showtime.
huge, yeah. Right now I'm sharing all those as well.
No, listen, they let you do at least two or three. I think Netflix lets you do 3. HBO lets you do 2. Showtime's lets you do 2. It's like,
You gotta cash in on that.
Especially with my next door neighbor. I'm like, I don't fucking care, right? Like, it's not like I'm watching porn on these things, and I don't really give a fuck what you're up to, right?
Yeah.
So, I have to look at all those things because Spotify's $10 a month, and I could make work pay for it, but then they would own my playlist, and I don't want them to own my. No. This is, people think these playlists come out of your ass.
No,
people think
they're very hard.
They take me weeks to do. It takes me weeks to hear a song that I think might sound good at 7:30. I don't just put it together.
Yeah.
People are like, what about this song? And I'm like, I'm not interested in your fucking opinion. I don't think you have good enough tastes.
When you finally are, that says a lot about that person.
Somebody will send me a song. Like, Jose will send me a couple things, and I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like, these playlists are specific. They are built from a time to the end of the time, right? So like from 5 to 1, there's supposed to be a certain speed and tempo. I'm not just throwing in a song because you want to fucking hear it, and I'm not putting on pop music, so don't ask.
I'm not gonna be the one.
No, I know,
asking.
and I take a lot of pride in those playlists. They make me really happy.
Yeah, and when I hear something that I like on there, or like that, I was like,
what's her name? Tuweek Waka. What's that? I sent the song to you. Remember that?
The most recent one that
I can't remember her name.
I'm hearing my favorite song by her in my head, but I don't know why it's driving me fucking nuts right now. There's been several things that I listen to on the regular.
It's a long line, it's a wait. That one, right?
Yeah.
It's a long line, it's a wait. Something like that.
Yeah, because I put a few people onto her when she did South by Southwest a couple years ago. Why am I fucking forgetting her name? This is so weird.
It's a really good song. I know exactly what song.
Yeah. Well, anyways, yeah, I think the playlist is really good, and whenever I hear someone on there that I'm like, damn, this is on a different level, or this is someone that I listen to regularly or something like that, it always gets me pumped. That
doesn't
like,
it?
A bunch of people are gonna hear this now, and it's like, I heard this gold somewhere before.
The other thing is too, like, so like build the play, like, Brian has been like, I don't care what anyone says to you, Johna. It's your playlist. Do whatever you want, and I'm not gonna fucking make any comments about it. I like it. You're the only one I'm gonna let do it. And so every once in a while, the other owner will be like, maybe
that's awesome.
Yeah, maybe we should put pop music on. And I'm just like, this is not what this is. People should hear this playlist and be like, what the fuck is that song? You shouldn't know it.
Yeah.
You should be like, or be like, oh fuck, I love that random Frank Ocean Ivy song that you've probably never heard on the radio, but you might have listened to. Or, I love a remix. I love it when somebody like takes a song and just redoes the whole thing in,
their own way.
In their own way. So that's the point of those. And I love them. And I'm always making playlists. But Spotify's algorithm is so smart that it has like, what you're listening to. It put like 30 of the songs I've been listening to on my playlist. So now I just have a set of 30 songs. And if I listen to like a song long enough, it gets on that playlist.
Oh, really?
They'll do a
That's good.
They'll do a Discovery Weekly for you, and they'll be like, this is what some of the songs that you like. These are similar artists, which is really fun because you might.
Tierra Whack.
That's right.
Fucking shit. I'm sorry, Tierra. If you ever hear this, I fucking love you. I don't know how that happened.
I couldn't remember her name either. But
fucking shit.
That song is
same with West Side Gun. Like, Jesus Christ, what an insult to have forgotten his name. Anyways. Yeah, but I feel you. And iTunes doesn't do that. Like,
no, it doesn't.
And why the fuck can I not see the songs that I heart when I look at an album? They used to be able to, you look at an album and it will show you anyone that you love, the heart will be next to it.
And now you can't.
And the other thing, now my fucking iTunes shuffles all the time when it's not on shuffle. And like, if I want to just play all the, like, I wish I could just go to an artist and be like, show me all the songs I love by this artist.
That's what Spotify does. It has like a
discography.
Thank you. And it'll be like, look at all the stuff. But some, there's like 10 artists that aren't on Spotify. Guess who's not on Spotify anymore? Jay-Z, because of Tidal. So he's on iTunes and he's on Tidal, but he's not. So you can't. I cannot go listen to the Black album, which by the way,
dope. I mean, all Jay-Z's hit.
He hasn't missed a beat. I think the Black album is. I think it's my favorite for a million reasons. But I also enjoyed, when DJ Danger Mouse did the Grey album. I was like, this is dope.
Grey album was fire. Black album, when that. I'll be at the gym.
Encore, fuck it.
And I'll start laughing out loud when that guy's just like, I'll fucking chop nigga up, throw him inside trash bag like blood money, motherfucker. You know what I'm talking about? The guy at the end, I'll just start laughing at the gym and people looking at me like, is he laughing at me right now? It's like, no, you have no idea, dude. This dude's bugging out on the Black album.
Yeah, I mean, that album is a banger. It still slaps.
Yeah. I miss doing the radio because I got so much joy out of like, okay, so just because it is the anniversary time and I did get kicked out of UMass, so I wasn't allowed in the state of Massachusetts. and I still wasn't allowed in Mass when I got back into UMass. So the school had no idea that I wasn't allowed in the state of Massachusetts.
Really?
So I was on the radio for 4 episodes before I was legally allowed. So I was on the radio in Massachusetts for 4 episodes before I was legally allowed to be back in Massachusetts. So I made an episode called Off Probation on the Radio, and basically it was shouted out the police departments, the state police, and everyone. It was like, yep, so now that I'm allowed to be here, I could tell all you guys this. And I used the entire playlist to tell a story through my favorite hip hop songs of everything from like 1-900 Hustler from back in the day with Jay-Z to like It Was All Good a Week Ago, and everything in between that just had like great stories about getting caught up in the game and everything like that. And I love doing that. And I hired 7 interns to work for the radio, even though they just worked for me and my show. And we put it on SoundCloud. And this is before SoundCloud had these
I fucking
algorithms.
love SoundCloud.
So then before they could pick up copyright. So we would push this show all over the fucking world. And like, you know, like social proof, like a new restaurant opens up, you have no idea what that restaurant sells or what kind of food they have. But for the last 2 weeks, every time you drive by it, there's a line out of the door. And so you're like, what I want to go in there. I want to check it out. So every 2 or 3 songs, I'd have a shout out from someone I'm friends with in LA, someone in the UK, someone in China, someone in Barcelona, someone in New York. So people would be listening to the show on SoundCloud or in their car in the fucking 25-mile radius of UMass Amherst, and they'd be like, okay, so this is straight, but then it'd be like, okay, someone in New York shouting it out, someone in Barcelona shouting it out, and it made it feel so much bigger than it actually was. So we made this into like a global show by putting it on SoundCloud. And like a year or 2 after I was done with the radio, like SoundCloud's algorithms are like, copyright flag, you get 1 more, buddy, and then we're deleting your thing.
Really?
So they took it all down. SoundCloud's an internet organization. There was no one for me to call and be like, listen, I have every right to put this up because it was on a radio show. Like, I'm not profiting off of this, but it was my personal page. It wasn't UMass radio page. So, but I love that. I love sharing music. If you or anyone else shows me a great song and I think it's great and my hair stands up off my fucking arm, before the fucking song's over, for the 40th time that I played it, I'm sending it to as many people. And like, I love now when you're in, at least in iTunes, like if I want to send a song to anybody, like immediately it's going to pop
insane?
up. Yeah.
So it's the phone's getting really weird. I'm like,
yeah.
This thing
The people it showed, it's like clearly immediately it's like, okay, well, who have you talked to most recently? Look, it's like, who do you send music to the most?
Right. It's
okay,
insane.
so they're going to pop up right away.
It's insane.
Yeah.
At the phone's getting, I'm like literally like.
I mean, we're a couple years away from it being literally, we'll be the first robots. We'll be bionic. It'll be integrated.
Well, that's true.
Us.
So like, I wanted to get.
It's already a part of us.
I wanted to get like an iWatch, right? Like an Apple Watch, and I was like, this fucking thing is on you and can do it. Like, there's sometimes when I'm like having conversations and I like put my phone in the other room. I'm not kidding. Yeah. Everyone thinks I'm fucking crazy, but I'm
no,
like,
I mean, look at the Instagram ads you get. Fuck me, it's listening to you.
It's reading your mind. Yeah. I was thinking about getting sneaker cleaner and it came up in an ad. I'm like, this thing is reading my mind. Please, God.
But did you ever say it out loud?
No, this is what I'm trying to say to you. This fucking thing's reading my mind. I was just thinking I need to scrub my sneakers, and a fucking sneaker cleaner ad came up. I was just thinking. I'm telling you,
for all we
these
know,
FBI,
they already are. That's 5G.
So fucking scary.
Yeah, it is.
It's so fucking scary. And we don't even own these things anymore, by the way, too. Like, we rent them. Like, I'm like, man, I'm gonna get the new one.
You'll like Homo Deus. You should read it.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff in there about like where we're going.
Great.
You know, with all of this.
Great.
Which is also really scary because the same direction is like, it used to be like it just used to be like the changes in the direction that the society is going in happens to be things that benefit all, because in order for the society to function correctly, you need all. Like, you need everyone to be in a war together. So you need everyone to be healthy. You need everyone to be well educated. But where we're at now, in order to survive and maintain, and when war and nuclear shit doesn't make war really an option like that anymore, now it's like the money and the elite will take over the tops of the things way more than it is now. So now, like things like Cambridge Analytica, only the ones that can afford Cambridge Analytica are going to get it. You need a new bionic fucking arm. Only the ones that can afford it will get it.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, if we can get a paradigm shift in Congress and our president to tax Amazon what it should be taxed.
Right?
I understand giving tax breaks for businesses because you're going to hire more people, so you get.
That's ridiculous when it's putting all the other businesses out of business.
When you don't pay any taxes.
Yeah. Get the fuck
if I have to pay 40% Amazon, right? At least you got to pay 10, motherfucker.
Yeah,
that extra tax changes. It's a game changer for what can happen for other people. You know, like, it's proven that whilst, you know, healthcare for all isn't a perfect system, it has made people healthier, and that therefore it's less. When people are healthier, it's a less strain on doctors and hospitals because they've taken better care of themselves, so they don't have to get their fucking foot chopped off from diabetes. But like Emily is a perfect example. Do you know how expensive?
She got her foot chopped off?
No, she has diabetes. She just,
oh, really?
Yeah. Fuck, I hope it's not a surprise. She just developed type 1, something kicked the gene and it expressed. Her medicine is $150 fucking a month. That's with insurance. I was ridiculous. Like, what do poor people do? Die.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Die.
You go down to Mexico. I went down there recently, and for example, like the asthma inhalers that with insurance up here would cost me like $40 or $50, I can buy 4 of them for less than $12.
It's fucking ridiculous. It's just, I mean, this is like one of the 9,000 things I can go on a tangent about, but the amount of money we pay for insurance, and then like, what do people do if they're actually, and like,
I haven't had insurance in 2 years. That's what I'm doing for January.
I'll give you a perfect example. This is how fucked up the system is, though, right? I found a lump in my breast. So,
recent?
About 9 months ago. So I call my doctor. She's like, let's get in, right? She feels it. She's like, we got to get you a mammogram. We got to make sure it's okay, right? I don't have a history of breast cancer in my family. I've had a mammogram before. I've been cleared. But this is a lump, and this is different. So she's like, I'm absolutely going to approve a mammogram. They wanted me to wait 2 months. I called the mammogram. They were like, we have fucking May open. I was like, no. So then they're like, you can try the Brigham. I had to make 42 calls to get me in 3 days. What if that's me? That's me being a busy bitch and knowing how to push people, right?
Yeah,
that's me knowing that sometimes you got to take a hammer to everyone's head to get what you fucking want, because nobody will listen. There are so many people that don't know how to do that don't have access, that can't find it, and that just makes me mad. Yeah, that's it. So, who are you voting for? Who do you like in the Democratic primary?
I like Tulsi Gabbard, but I don't know. I really have no idea yet.
I'm really feeling Miss Warren. I really like her.
Yeah. I like
Bernie's
her.
Too fucking old. I really like Beto too. I really like
that recent health scare. You know, that's
like, we don't need you to die 2 days into it, buddy. I love you, but
I know. I like him a lot too.
I like Beto. I listened to the things he said. Like, when that shooting happened out there, he was like, "You guys know what the fuck's going on. Stop pretending you don't know." And I was like, man, do we need some honesty? This is some real, honest stuff.
It makes it You know what would be great? If every presidential candidate did a 3-hour podcast and had a conversation about this shit. And like, it's already too much to ask the entire society to need to pay attention to everything. Correct. With all the other bullshit and fake news that goes on and in between it. But like, if you had a long form conversation with all of them and I needed to give 3 hours to each candidate, I think that's not a big ask for 15 people and for the rest of the world, the United States, to give them 3 hours of their time.
I would agree.
And you will know after that 3 hours who you want to vote for.
Beto was on Bill Simmons. He was fucking great.
All right, so I should I should listen
Find
to
that
it.
one because he was fucking great. He talked about real things. He was he was good. He was good. You were like, this is a person who gives a shit about other people and is smart. I mean, I don't think he's going to make it. It depends on how much money. I like Camilla. She's smart. She's really smart. Like, I watched her during some of those like hearings, and she's like, she goes in with a boning knife to people. I'm like, she's a fucking really talented attorney. Like this
is the other thing. I need to know more.
She's really talented.
It's so hard to pay attention to know and be well educated on them all.
She's really smart. I don't, she's had some dicey history with like being really, really hard on like drug dealers and and that's sort of not how we're doing things anymore. But that's just culturally how we've changed, right? Cory Booker's, I met him, I liked him. He's got a lot of energy, but I don't know, he feels like he's taking some money from big pharma and stuff. That's gonna be ugly. Elizabeth Warren hasn't had any of that shit. And she's gunning. A boss.
She's gunning for it.
She was walking through this airport. You should Google it and find it. It's like she's walking through this airport. All these Trump supporters are like screaming at her, and she's just like not really putting her fingers up, but she just does not give a fuck. And she says some savage shit to people.
Word.
And I'm just like, you know what? I'm here for the law professor from fucking Harvard. Let's go.
I do like her. I like her.
A lot of men don't like her. Everyone's like, Elizabeth Warren. And I'm like, shut up.
I like her.
I like her.
I do like her.
She's the smartest of the bunch. She's,
I'm way more black than she is Native American, though. I'm like 9% black. She ended up being like 0.0 something Native American.
This fucking 23andMe. My God. So glad I didn't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really care.
I have this thing in my comedy, like, what percentage of African do I need to be before I could say the N-word while I sing along in a hip-hop song? My friend Parlay is like, never. You can't.
Never. Oh my God. Was I at work last week and somebody said something like, I knew they weren't going to tip. They looked Jewish. And I was like, first of all, you're a fucking racist and a bigot. Second of all, don't fucking ever say anything like that again. Third of all, check yourself.
Yeah, that's...
And the person was like, well, I'm ethnic, so I can say that. I was like, nope. But this is what I mean by my line in the sand. Like, I'm not allowing people to do things like that.
Yeah.
Like, when people get into certain circles, you would be surprised how racist they can get.
Oh,
I'm fucking floored.
I believe it.
Sometimes in a room being like,
everyone's a little racist.
Everyone is, I don't think everyone's a little racist. I think everyone is biased. You grow up culturally around the same people that look like you a lot, right? Mm-hmm. You grow up around mostly straight people. You don't know that many gay people or trans people. Like it's what you see, right? So you're biased to those things because you don't know any better. Your eyes have been open to stuff. All of a sudden the biases start to loosen up, right? Because you're like, this person's a person. And all the stuff that we started with that your parents brought to us, that our neighborhood, that all the bullshit that we grew up in being like, man, this side of town, when you see the world and you get out in the world and you get around different people that you've never seen before, then you realize everyone's a person. Those biases we all have biases, I see people walk in the restaurant, I'm like, well, they're trash. I don't fucking know them. They might not be trash.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell by your shoes you are, but like...
Well, I mean, there's the taxi cab confession thing. There's the podcast thing right now. It's like every little thing that I went into thinking about what this woman, Johna, that's sitting down here right now is going to be like, or even what I thought she was like from just the interactions that I had with her, not me, but maybe someone else that watches this, that works with us at the restaurant, that thought that you were a certain way. Okay, well, watch what like a long format conversation will do. It'll change a few things. You'll realize... that there's some reasons behind why they do what.
Yeah, and I think, I hope I've changed it for the better. I hope you think more of me than...
I think so, 100%. I'm saying for more people listening in, you know, like correct. 100%. You know?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. Fuck it if they don't, right? Running and gunning for myself anyway, so...
I agree.
That's part of being an only child.
Yeah, for sure.
You're out there in the universe, and when your parents die, you're an orphan.
Yeah. Yeah, I never really thought about it like that before, but that's the truth.
This is dark. This got real dark. This got real dark. Well, the night took a hard left.
Yeah. It's a good place to end it.
Yeah. So, well, and scene.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to?
I think we hit a lot. We hit a lot of notes. We hit a lot. You're going to go back and be like, we talked about a lot of things.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there are several times in the conversation I'm like, this is some fucking gold. Because what I'm doing between now and Thanksgiving is I'm going back through every podcast. I'm taking 30-second clips, 10-minute clips. Basically, everyone's like, oh, like you got a podcast, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, I went and looked. It's like 3 hours long. Yeah, so I'm divvying it up into bite-sized pieces.
Yes.
But then I'm doing like same way I've ran in biz dev, like a marketing campaign. So I'm taking advantage of the holidays. And right around mid-November, right around Thanksgiving, I'm just going to be posting once or twice a day on YouTube and Instagram. And I was just thinking, like, there is so much gold within this conversation. There's some things,
this is going to be incredible.
Yeah, 30-second clip that just that ends in dying laughter. I mean, there's going to be some good parts in this.
There's some real gold in there. I was like, well, I can't believe you said that on a podcast, but
yep,
it's out.
It's out.
It's out.
It's out.
Can't take it back now.
We can't. Well, John, thank you very much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
I appreciate you making the time. I think it happened when it was supposed to happen,
yes, when you were like, when I got your text, I was like, I'm coming. Don't worry. I'm in. I was I don't want you to run over a small rabbit outside.
Yeah, that was, and let me just say, to that point, right, how I was feeling that day, coming into Chops and working with the group of people that I worked with, I was fine within like an hour.
Well, look at how fun we are. It's impossible.
Can't do that in an office.
No, you can't. And like, guess what?
That in an office.
That's the fun part of the job. Mm-hmm. So like for me, when I come in, I'm having a bad day and like I'm with some of these idiots and somebody does something ridiculous. I'm like, okay, well, here we are. We're here.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, good.
All right.
Thank you again.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Oof.